Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with Real Deal Talk. Guys, I am riled up today. Yes, I know I'm riled up all the time. I know this. I know. But today is extra special. Today is the first shoot of Real Deal Talk in my new studio. Okay, it gets better. And our first official guest in the new studio is a man that has had an effect on my life that he doesn't even know. And frankly, I don't think I can even fathom how far what his influence on me has done and is going to do in my entire life. Ladies and gentlemen, Tracey Armstrong is in the house. This guy is prophetic as it gets. He's a marketplace beast. He's a pastor. He spits fire. He's a man of God. He is absolutely one of my favorite guys in my entire life, and somebody that just inspires me. And you're gonna hear it today. The fire that comes out of this guy is absolutely unreal. Pastor Tracey Armstrong, welcome to the show. Welcome to Real Deal Talk.
Thanks, JD. Glad to be here, man.
Come on.
Exciting, great studio, great location.
Yep.
Things are about to rock in a new level.
Yeah, dude. And I purposely, guys, by the way, I had a whole bunch of other guests. Actually, I had 2 other guests scheduled. I actually pushed them off because I thought, you know what? I want to christen the new location with a true man of God to set the tone in this new studio. And moving forward with the show, I want to set the tone, like almost like the rebirth of Real Deal Talk.
Come on.
With none other than yourself.
Come on. Well, it's a privilege.
Come
bro.
on.
It's a privilege.
So we're going to get down here. First and foremost, let me thank you all for tuning in. The feedback I'm getting when I'm all over town, DMs, text messages, frankly, it's still kind of mind-boggling to me, but I can't thank you enough for tuning in. The feedback, keep it coming because it's what keeps me going. Guys like Trey, same thing. It just keeps us going. You know, let us know if something inspired you. And by the way, if you want to support the show financially, Real Deal Sleep pays the bills around here. Real Deal Sleep, that's my mattress company. If you need a mattress, a pillow, sheets, go to realdealsleep.com. You can text me there, book an appointment. I do zero gravity sleep systems. If you're sleeping flat, you don't know anything, you're missing out on life. You need to sleep with zero gravity, feet elevated, head elevated. It's going to increase your blood circulation, your oxygen intake, any snoring issues. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to support the show financially, because Real Deal Sleep's paying the bills, go ahead and hit me up. And anyway, once again, I can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart for tuning in and for giving me feedback about the show. So here we go. Let's go, Tracey. Let's go back here, man, because I actually don't even know your story at all. I know of what you do now and in the limelight with media and preaching and all that stuff. But as far as going back here, where were you born and raised?
I am from Seattle, Washington. I was born in an area outside of Seattle called Tacoma, Washington, and was born. My mom was 16 when she gave birth to me.
Oh, wow.
16, pregnant, of course, impregnated at 15 and a half. Young, full of energy, fire, don't know my father, don't know who he is, don't know where he is, don't know what his life has been, and just been pacing life in that way. So my mom gave birth to me at 16, and within a short period of time left me with my grandmother, and she went down to here, California, and tried to find herself.
Wow.
And I was with my grandmother, my grandfather, and then in the house of all athletes. All of the athletes were boxers, football players, wrestlers. I mean, just high level athletes. And I grew up in that kind of household. 2 of them, my uncle Davy Lee Armstrong. Some will know him by Davy Lee Armstrong. Was a 2-time Olympian medal winner. And so I just grew up in a house of just absolutely obsessed people who are driven to achieve. And so I saw the art of accomplishment. I saw it, didn't understand it completely, but I saw it. I saw the work ethic. And so, out of Tacoma, and then, moved down to Southern California
real quick here. So you said you moved in with your grandma?
My grandma.
So in that household, there was all these athletes?
Yes.
From the family?
From the family, yeah. All of her kids. All of my uncles.
All of your uncle's kids. So your mom.
All of my grandmother's kids, they were my uncles.
Got it. Okay, got it. Now, your mom, you said she moved.
She moved away.
She moved away.
Yeah, she moved away.
What age?
So 16.
16.
Yeah, so she gave birth.
Had you
Basically went and found herself. I don't know what she did, so I'm just going to say she went to find herself.
I found you. You're right here.
I don't know where she's at. I mean, I know where she's at now, but I didn't know I don't know what she did at the time of 16. She was wild, footloose, ready to go, experience life, and then years later, when I was 6, she came back and got me, and I lived with her a year. Then I was like, man, this is not my lifestyle. Then I'd go back to my grandma and then, be around these high achievers, these athletes. And then I'm like, well, then she'd say, well, come and visit me for summer. And I'd go and see her for summer. And then I'm like, oh, I love you, Mom. I want to be with you. And I spend the time, but I'm like, this is not my lifestyle. And my mom, ultimately, I want to bring you to this place where in a part of finding herself in that search, she became a Muslim. She found Allah and became a Muslim and, lived her life. So part of me not liking the lifestyle that I was involved in was not a crazy lifestyle of partying, but it was a lifestyle of Islam. I didn't find myself in Islam, prayed 5 times a day, sought Allah, read the Quran, and didn't find any engagement with God through that. And so, through a lot of circumstances, ended up before I became 18, just deciding that there was no God, that there is no God, that I have in me the superpower of whatever I need to achieve, the whole New Age concept. And so my mom, she went on her journey, I went on my journey, and ultimately, we're buddies. She's my friend. I love her. We talk all the time.
No way. This is incredible. Already.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, go back here. So, but as a kid, you couldn't even have realized that your mom left. You just knew that you had which was your grandma.
Yeah.
Was your mom.
Right. Exactly.
Because you're so young, you don't remember anything, right?
Right.
Like even when she came back.
I remember when she came back to get me, I remember hiding under the table because my grandmother explained to me that my mom was coming to get me, and I hid under the kitchen table, not understanding what that looked like, not understanding who I was going to be with, not understanding my stepfather, who that was going to be, and literally just hid and didn't want to go. And, my story is quite interesting because, my mom comes back before she converts to Islam. And then there's like a backsliding season for her, and she gets connected with my stepfather. And my stepfather was someone I really liked, but I didn't realize his lifestyle was not conducive for my future, which was he was a pimp. He was he was a criminal. He was a career criminal. That was his life. Wow. And so I went to live with him in Oakland and grew up around a criminal life.
You did?
Yeah. It was quite interesting. We have a lot of just very flavorful and colorful.
So when did you go to live with him? What age?
So this was like about between that 6, 7, 8 year old.
Yep.
And being with your dad
when she came to get you.
Yeah.
Okay. Then she brought you to where she was with the stepdad.
Yeah.
And at that point, this is the first time you met that guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And he became my stepdad, and he's, his name was, we called him Champ. His name was really Harry, but we call him Champ because he was always just making deals happen. He was. So
tell me a little bit about that. Do you remember any? Do you have any memories of
I admired Champ. I mean, he was a champ. He was fun. He's a make it happen guy, but the thing that was really most challenging with having a dad is he loved to make promises, but he was so busy making deals that he couldn't fulfill his promises, right? And so I grew up with this idea, dads don't have the ability to actually fulfill their promises. We're going to go to Disneyland. I remember him telling me, we're going to go to Disneyland today. And he told me all the time we're going to go to Disneyland. We lived in Oakland.
Yeah.
So we were going to drive down to Disneyland. I'm getting in the car, I'm asleep, and we wake up and he's like, okay, we're here. And I look around and I see Sylvester the Putty Cat, and I see, what is the guy with the twisted mustache, Longhorn.
Longhorn.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is not Disneyland, Dad. This is not Disneyland. This is Great America. This is Six Flags. We stopped short. And so this was kind of the pattern that I noticed, that he made a lot of money, but he was always working deals and talking, and it was quite interesting. I remember one day I came home from school, and we're living in Piedmont Hills in Oakland area, and I come home from school and there's this big machine in the living room. I'm like, what is this? I'm in like elementary, like late elementary, maybe getting ready for junior high, and said, what is this? And he said, this is a ID machine. This was like, he got a machine that, like you would get, that you would have at the, that prints ID, basically. You'd have the DMV machine in the middle of our living room. And he goes, hey, sit here and he took a picture of me, put a little thing in there, and then pops out a Idaho ID, Idaho license. And so, that was his thing. He was able to he pulled stuff off. And so
he was doing fake IDs.
Fake IDs, yeah. And so
were people coming to the house for these fake IDs?
No, he never had anybody come to the house, but he just always had a new gig, a new thing, right? And so I remember one day he was arrested, put in prison. I was so mad because this is my dad. He's in prison. They ship him up to Washington. And, let's say a couple months later, I come home from school and there he is in the living room. I'm like, what happened? He goes, well, I escaped. He escaped prison 3 times.
Come on.
He got kicked out of the state of Washington, could never go back. They couldn't even put him in a prison in Washington because he would always escape. And so he was just kind of a wild guy. But in the same time, he was good to me.
Yeah.
He was good to me.
He treated you well.
He treated me well. There was, again, movie level insight here. One day, a part of this lifestyle, of a criminal lifestyle, is that his work is at night.
Yeah.
So he's working at night. My mom's working at night. That leaves me at home by myself.
Yep.
Kid. And let's go back around 6, 7 years old. I'm at home. I spent most of my time alone. I had friends outside, but when they're gone, I had to be in the house.
So there's no brothers and sisters.
No brothers, sisters. Yeah. I'm just by myself. And I'm sleeping in my room. I put myself to bed one time, then all of a sudden I hear this smack. Well, the smack is someone's kicking in the front door. They come in, they're going through the house, they're taking all the furs, they're taking all the jewelry, they're taking all the stuff. And then they open up the back, my door, and they look in and they see me and they close the door and they leave. And I think nothing. I'm thinking, well, yeah. They must have some people hanging around here, some party. And I had no idea what was going on. Went back to sleep, wake up the next morning to, come on, let's talk. And the police are there and they open up this book and he says, do you recognize anybody that was here last night? And so I start to point out,
oh no,
the person that opened up the door. And I'm like, this guy was the guy. And I had no idea what was going on. And then later, I'm taking a drive with my dad. And we're just chilling, He always had these Cadillac Sevilles. He loved Cadillacs. And so I'm driving.
You're gonna die. Like my first car when I became an X-ray technologist, I got my first car.
Yeah.
22 years ago. My first car was a Cadillac STS Seville.
Oh yeah.
I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
Go.
There's nothing like there's nothing like
there isn't. Go.
And so wow. I'm just taking you on a journey here, but. Yeah. I said, Dad, and I don't know where this question came from. I said, Dad, have you ever killed anyone? Because I know his life. I know his life. Has he ever killed anyone? He goes, yeah. And I said, who? And he goes, remember when you pointed someone out in that book? And I was like, yeah. He goes, yeah.
Wow.
And that was what I grew up. That was the guy.
What was your feeling right there?
I was like, wow.
And that was because he couldn't have that guy.
No, you can't come kicking into my house and taking my furs and stealing and what my son sitting in the back room sleeping.
Oh my gosh.
So I went from being with these high level Olympian athletes to this and somewhat empire building, criminal life, real life criminal. And I see
mom doing
extremes. My mom is one of the gals. She's just. She's like his wife, but she's in business. So
she was in the business.
She's in business,
doing her part.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, keep going. Give me. Like, where did that go? How long did that last?
But at the same time, I'm torn with this idea that I have a grandmother that's a 7-day Adventist praying woman. And she's praying for me every single day. She's praying and seeking. I feel this prayer. And at this point, I'm like, there is no God. You can't be in the midst of what I'm in the midst of and think that there's a God. And so I just had this atheist kind of posture that if it's going to be done, it's going to be done because of the power that's within me, right?
Yeah.
And then I have this understanding that I've never seen God. I've never seen him work. I've never seen him active. When my grandfather was dying of cancer, I prayed and I never saw, he didn't heal my grandfather. So I'm like, God, you're not powerful, because my thought pattern was very simple. I still think I'm a pretty simple thinker. I don't try to get too intense, but I think about a lot of things. And so I said, God, when my bike breaks, the chain goes off, I'm able to put the chain back on, and here we go. We're back to rolling again. I said, if you're God, if someone's life breaks, you should be able to fix the chain on their life. And I'm praying this when I'm a kid. How come you can't heal my grandfather? I prayed every day for it. My grandfather dies of cancer. And then, so I'm like, there is no God. That was a turn for me. I was completely gone from that. So from there, I became an atheist. I become someone who's trying to live in the footsteps of Champ. Yeah. I tried to work, footsteps of my uncles, but, I didn't give myself, my coach would always say, Tracey, you are so fast. You have so many moves, but you lack initiative. You lack the ability to, when it's time to give the hit, give the hit. I was Billy White Shoes Johnson, just always moving and juking and jiving, not wanting to take the hit, not wanting to give the hit. And so that just brought me into this place where I said, well, either I can go and give myself to sports, which I love sports. I love football. I loved wrestling, but I just didn't see myself living that life. But so I became a drug dealer. So I started dealing drugs.
What age?
That was all throughout high school.
In high school.
In high school. I had a van.
Still living with Champ and Mom? No,
I'm living with Grandma.
But now you're with Grandma.
Well, I'm up in Seattle, Washington area at that time, and I'm partying in Washington.
So did you move away from Mom then? Is that?
Well, no. Yeah, kind of. I had a house. I had a room still in the house, but I was out partying all the time, and I was never home. I had one of those Scooby-Doo vans, white Scooby-Doo, a Ford van with the big tires.
Oh yeah.
And it had, diamond tuck and a bed. And so I just was like, okay, before van life was popular like it is now, you can start a YouTube channel with your van life and become a millionaire. If I had back in the day, I would be a millionaire on YouTube, just catching myself because I'm sleeping and partying, and we go to clubs at night, and that's where my business happened, right outside of clubs, stay up all night, party, and then sleep in the van, go to a friend's house or go home and shower, get done and do it all again the next day. Did
Champ know you were doing this?
No, Champ didn't know.
He didn't know?
No, he had no idea. Champ at that point was in and out of prison. He'd been doing, a lot of time. And he did come up just right before I got saved and hung out a couple times. I didn't see him a lot in that season.
So did Mom know you were doing this?
No.
No idea.
Grandma didn't know.
So how did you start? Did you just start like, hey, was it just weed?
Well, it started with Coke. I was smoking weed and I was selling weed, but it started with Coke. It started with...
No kidding.
I didn't do a lot of Coke myself, but it was money.
Yeah.
It was money.
That's the biggest turnaround.
Yeah.
The biggest ROI.
Yeah, it was money. And so we would go to a place called Mount Vernon, Washington, and you could just get, just a lot of Coke.
Wow. And this was in high school.
This was in high school.
Did you become well known as the go-to guy?
Well, yeah. And I ultimately ended up going, I'm not, why should I go to school? I'm making so much money. And so, my 12th year, I didn't finish. And so ended up going and just partying and spent a lot of time traveling around on the road.
In your van?
In my van.
No way. All right. So how did you get out of that?
Well, there was a point where we were out partying all night. We went to, we're at all night clubs. We're not at clubs that close at 2. We're at clubs that close at 9. And then there's an after party, at 9 in the morning. Right. And so I remember one day we're so hungry. Let's go eat, bro. This is so the party's done. I'm hungry. So we go to IHOP. And as I walk into IHOP, I remember people looking at us going like, you guys are criminals. And I didn't like the look. I didn't like the look enough to where I'd say, oh, I'm about to hurt you. But I didn't like the look. And I remember thinking, they're looking at me because they don't think I'm a go-getter. They don't think I'm actually an achiever. And I don't know where that thought came from. And then I from that day, like the next day, I woke up and I was walking down. I took a walk on my street, and I said, I wonder what it's like to be a go-getter. That was my question. I wonder what it's like to be a go-getter. I saw what it was like for how people responded as someone that was just making, that was partying.
Yeah.
But I wonder what it's like for people to look at you and go, man, that guy's a go-getter. And that was the pivot for me. That was the shift. And so, I didn't immediately stop what I was doing, but I started studying real estate. I started studying other aspects of how could I make money and be a go-getter? How could I be someone that would actually take charge of my life and my destiny? And that then took me to a place where I said, well, I'm going to go and do what everyone else does. I'm going to go get a job. So I went to get a job. I worked at a shoe store called Kenny Shoe Store. I don't know if you.
Yes.
And so you go in and
the name.
and you learn how to sell shoes, selling shoes. And then just right before I got saved, I started working at Kenny Shoe Store. And it kind of all led to these thoughts. And this thought was still, I wonder what it's like to be a go-getter. I wonder what it's like to be a go-getter. And so that was the thing. That's still the thing that drives me today. I want to be a go-getter. I want to be someone who gets up and goes and gets it, not someone who waits for it to come, but I'm a go get it.
Yeah. Cause I mean, if you want to achieve any type of above average lifestyle or make an actual impact on the world, you got to go get it.
Yeah. Look at this studio. I mean, look at your business. Yeah. Look at your podcast. Yeah. You're a go-getter. I like you. I can see the go-getter obsession in your face, and it's constantly there.
Oh yeah.
You probably sleep with a go-getter face.
Yeah, I do.
He's like,
I'm ready to go.
You wake up and you go-getter face. It's awesome.
I'm pissed that I have to sleep. I'm like, I gotta sleep. I'm ready to go.
At least I'm sleeping on zero gravity.
That's right.
Which I need to know about, by the way.
I put my massage feature on and my lumbar support, and life is good, dude. Yeah. But I'm still upset that I have to, man, I gotta sleep because I'm ready to go. I'm ready to start this day. All right, so keep going. Now, mom, is she in the picture at all? What's going on with mom?
No, man, I'm in my own. I'm like a wanderer in my life and just trying to find me. And she's I know she's there. We didn't talk very much. The story became, I became pretty bitter towards my mom. And I didn't know why until after I got saved. I didn't really understand that. But I remember, I was home with my grandmother, came to visit my grandmother, hang out with her. And, when I'm not sleeping on couches or sleeping in vans, I'm hanging out with her. And my mom comes and she introduced me to her new husband. And I didn't even know she got married. I'm like, you got married? Oh, okay, and then so I meet this new husband, and his name, Charles Muhammad. He just recently went and passed away. And but that was my introduction. I think I was 20, 19 or 20, meeting him, and I'm like, hi.
And so you didn't graduate high school.
I dropped out of school.
You dropped out of school.
Yeah.
And so when you dropped out of school, that's when you went into IHOP and started thinking about go-getters.
Yeah.
Did you go back to school? What happened there?
I ended up going back to school so that I can get into the ministry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, but that's too far ahead. We can't
jump that far. That's too many years to jump.
That's too many. Okay. I picked up on that. All right, so jump to, because you keep saying before you got saved. So this is pretty close here.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We're getting there. Okay, so lead up to it.
So I'm in this place where I'm wanting to be a go-getter. I'm trying to learn about real estate, learning about business, just studying everything I can, going to seminars, and just trying to understand what the life of a go-getter is. And then I find myself feeling detached, just feeling disconnected. One of my friends who I did a lot of my partying with, he just disappeared one day, and I went looking for him. I went to his house. I'm like, what happened? His windows were all shut. His curtains were all pulled, and he didn't answer the door for days. And I went and I knocked again. And one day he answered the door. I'm like, what happened to you, bro? We were partying. We're on the way. This is the guy I would always argue with. He's like, no, he had a Bible next to his bed. And even though he was a partier, he had a Bible there. And he would always argue with me. we would say, hey, I say, I'm an atheist. There is no God. He goes, there's a God. No matter what, we have to answer to this God. And then one day he was walking down the road, just down the street, and the Lord said, give me your life. Give me your life. I want your life. Give your life to me. And this is like a voice that hit him. And he just starts running down the road and gives his heart to the Lord. He then hides because the Lord tells him he has to get away from me. He has to get away from me. I go to his house and I'm like, you don't have to get away from me, bro. Let's go hang out. Let's go party. And so he says, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm like, well, let's just go hang out. So we hang out and I end up going buying some weed and I get him high and he crashes his Carmagia and so he has to really run from me. He goes to a place called Northwest Bible College to get away from me. It's about an hour and a half away. And the whole time he's there, he puts
How are you feeling at this point? Like your friend's trying to get away from you.
This is my best friend. He's trying to get away from me. I'm like, well, I did. I was kind of like, I got you, good Christian boy, in an accident. It's kind of, I was punk. I was just a punk.
Yeah, you're a knucklehead.
I was just a knucklehead. So it was like, I thought it was funny, but it wasn't funny. Forgive me, Jesus. Why do you persecute me? Right. And so I end up getting into this situation where he's away and I'm starting to really want to be ambitious for the next level. So I'm working at the Kenny shoe store. I keep going back to that because I can't believe that name, dude. It's really pivotal.
I haven't heard it in 40 years.
Yeah, it's like it's been a while. And so I end up meeting this girl, and man, I really like this girl. And so I end up moving in with her, and she happens to live right around the corner from the Northwest Bible College that my friend is. And I'm driving there to go to the house, and I'm like, oh, there's where my friend is. He's right there, literally just 10 minutes away if I just get in and walk. And so I thought, I'm going to go and visit him. So I walk over.
And back then, there's no phones, right?
No, there's
no cell phones, right?
There's pagers. I think there's pagers. Pagers. I think there's pagers, and there's big bag phones probably. These big old bag phones. Yeah. So, but I didn't have any phone, right? So I'm going. I walk around, and I go and I look for him, and they say, "Oh, he's in the prayer room." And so I go to the prayer room, and he's in there praying, and I see my name up on this prayer board.
Shut up.
And he's been praying for me for the last year. My grandmother's praying for me. This guy's praying for me. And I remember walking in going, oh my goodness, this is weird. It's strange. I'm like, he's praying. This is the guy I used to party with, smoke and drink and do crystal meth and do all the stuff that we would do. And he's praying for me. And I feel pretty weird, but at the same time, I'm feeling mad. He told all of the people there, he says, if Tracey ever comes, don't talk to him about God. Just love him. And I didn't know what I was feeling when I walked on the campus, but I felt this thing, something like, and I know what it is now. I can describe it as love, but I felt like a closeness. And I remember getting there and just being a little irritated by it, but at the same time feeling like just this is a real thing. And he says, well, we can't hang out right now. I'm going to go to church. I'm going to go to church tonight. It's Wednesday night service. And I said, well, I don't want to go home right now. I'll go to church with you. And so I go to church, and there's this guy that's telling his story. He's just up there telling his story. And that's how I interpret. He's telling his story, and he gets into this thing where it's like, I got saved, and I'm at my house, and the Lord said to me, get up and go to this address. I'm like, well, that's weird. I'm listening to this guy tell his story. Get up and go to this address. He goes to the address, knocks on the door, opens up, and there's a bunch of drug addicts in there. God gave him the address, gave him a name of a person, and goes in and ministers to them. They all get saved. I think to myself right at that moment, I said, God, if you're real, then you can do the same thing that you did for those people, those drug addicts. You can do that for me. I'm not a drug addict. I just sell drugs. A qualifier. Right. I'm not a drug addict. I just sell drugs. And I said, so if you can do that for them, then have this guy do what they used to do in my grandmother's church, which is invite people to the front. And so as soon as I said that, the guy goes, if you want to give your heart to Jesus, then come to the front. Before I could even think about it, I was at the front giving my heart to Jesus and crying. So that was my pivot. That was my change. That was my transformation.
Was your friend just losing his mind?
Yeah, well, he probably was. And I was so caught up. I don't know exactly what he was doing, but this one guy comes to me. It's really, really dark skinned, like black guy. And he's super, super dark. And he's like, get this incredible, like white eyes and white teeth. And he's just smiling. And he says this thing to me that just kind of stuck to me. And he says, get ready, for the next 6 months are going to be the most adventurous 6 months of your life. And I was like, and he's smiling, like he's obsessed. He looks like you, except for you're white. You know, right? So it's like this obsessed guy that's like, get ready. The best time of your life is about to hit. And I remember thinking, that's amazing. I want an amazing, adventurous life.
Yeah.
And so I was looking forward to the next 6 months. They sneak me onto the campus of Northwest Bible College. I stay there for 2 weeks right before Christmas break, and they just disciple me. And I go from one dorm room to another dorm room, and they're just teaching me about the Bible. This black guy that's bright eyed, and
he was there.
He was constantly reading the Bible to me. And I remember thinking, this guy is the smartest guy I know. How is this guy so smart? And what he was reading Proverbs. He's just reading Proverbs. Wisdom is coming. I'm like, this guy is the most brilliant guy in the world. And he's just reading Proverbs. And I remember at the end of the 2 weeks, I was changed. I was rocked.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was your friend just loving this?
He loved it. And then his thing was, he would take me on the street and we'd street preach. We'd preach at the mall and we'd do all kinds of, just get out there.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Give me an example.
Yeah, well, I mean, he'd literally go, okay, we're going out to evangelize. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And he'd say, listen, you just go out and you tell people what's up. You tell people what's happening. And I remember he took me to a place called the Tacoma Mall, and he's preaching. He's telling people about the love of Jesus. And I saw some people that I knew from the past, and they go, oh, what's up? What's new? And I said, oh, nothing's new. And I remember getting back home, and the Holy Spirit going, you didn't tell him about me. I'm new. I'm the new one in your life. How come you didn't tell them? And I thought, okay, so that's what I've got to do. I've got to tell them about the new thing that's in my life, which is you. And I'm saying it's nothing new. And so I go back out the next time, and they're like, what, meet people, encounter people. And, because not to go back a little bit, but I also am a dancer. So part of this
How
world.
could you go over this? Don't be skipping across your
man. I tell you,
your cardboard on the floor.
I had cardboard.
Come on.
I had cardboard. I had linoleum. I would carry linoleum.
No.
Yeah, I was totally the break dancer. Yeah, and so
yes, with the boombox.
Yeah, boombox. That was my jam, and I did that for a while with Pepsi breaker, and Michael Jackson interpreter, dancer. I was a lip syncer for Pepsi to do Michael Jackson.
No way.
Yeah, Billie Jean, and so
you could do the Billie Jean dance.
Yeah, the whole Billie Jean, all of it, the hip thrust, crotch. We don't want to talk about that now that we're men of God, but the kick, the moonwalk, all of that fun stuff, jerry curl. Got dripping jerry curl juice all on my neck, and
you were going to pass over this?
I'm sorry, man,
because
I'm used to telling just the pivots, the big pivotal points, and there's a lot of stuff in between. No. It's like you don't have enough time for me to tell you my history.
We got time on Real Deal Talk. We got nothing but time, baby.
I hope you listeners are enjoying.
They're
this.
used to it.
Yeah,
they're used to tuning in 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. It takes them about a week to listen to one podcast.
Knock it out. Yeah, that's
knock
good.
It out. They're going to be thankful that we got to the cardboard and the linoleum.
Yeah, the cardboard linoleum, man. Just carry that around and spin on my head. Spinning on my head, my elbow, head spin, back spin, all of it. That was my jam. I got caught up in that in high school. It was just kind of something to do.
What was the go-to song? Was it Run DMC?
Oh, there was, Beastie Boys, Run DMC. It's just like you can give a whole gamut of it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. All right. So where were we before you went back to we dancing?
Yeah.
You were on, you got saved. Your buddy at the Bible college, right? Keep going there.
All right. So Bible college, end up, getting discipled there. And then they're taking me on the street. And so a lot of people I bump into, they knew me as a breakdancer. They were
they did.
So they're like, oh, so how's it going? What's new? And I'm like, nothing's new. So that's a lot of the conversation was because I used to breakdance in the Tacoma Mall. Now I'm not, I don't have no.
So you would lay down the linoleum in the mall.
Well, the mall's nice and slippery already. So you just meet up with other like breakdancing gangs and you just it's like, you breakdance
so
war.
You all meet up and
this is like the beat it kind of like connection. You breakdance and war and then you get kicked out of the mall because you're breakdancing and but I'd run into people and I'm not breakdancing, I'm just walking the mall talking to people, and so they're like, what's up, what's new? And so the Holy Spirit's like, you got to tell them. So that became the conversation, and I realized that it's a real thing to actually tell your story, to tell people your story, where you've been, what's changed, how did you change, who changed you, and then what your life has been after the change. And I realized that that's what a testimony is who you were, how did that change happen? I met Christ. What happened after that? This is the life that I live after this, and so. I become equipped in that. And so that was evangelism for us, not going out and just, trying to just later it became where I'm preaching on the street corners and I'm one of those guys, right? Those guys, preaching on the street corner. I remember first time preaching on a street corner, guy spits a loogie on me and I have to not be my old guy. I have to be my new guy and keep on preaching, right? And so that was all good things. And so that led me into the place where I felt like I was called to ministry. I did not want to go in the ministry. I wanted to be in Hollywood. I wanted to be in the industry. I wanted to be in media. I wanted to be but I kept reading, when I read the Bible, this person like a John the Baptist and all of these guys, these prophets would just speak to me. I didn't know why, but it was just like, I saw myself in their space. And I remember just having this argument with God. I don't want to go into ministry. Ministers are poor. They're broke. They have nothing. They wear patent shoes and they have these leisure suits. And I don't want to be in that. I want to be wealthy. I want to be famous. I want to be known. I want to be an actor. I want to, do my gig. But I kept feeling this call. So I remember the Lord just saying, if you will go to ministry, I'll give you business later. And so, that was my next pivot, going into ministry, went to Bible school down in Southern California.
And then what was the first move that you did? Like when you decided to go to ministry, like, would you go to a church? What did you do?
Well, I was going to church already.
Yeah.
I was going to church. And the first thing I started to do is because when I was complaining to God about being a minister, he wants me to go into ministry. I want to go into acting. He said, incorporate them.
Yeah.
And so my first move to ministry was I played Peter and I played Matthew in a play. I got introduced to ministry through acting. And so a major play, the largest passion play, outdoor passion play in the United States at the time, the largest passion play, the second largest in the world. And so I played Peter and Matthew and the devil in that play. And that was how I really first engaged. And I remember I would watch TBN or watch TV, Christian TV all the time. And I remember seeing Benny Hinn for the first time doing this. Benny Hinn?
I've heard the name.
Yeah, he's a miracle guy. He's got, lots of miracles, been doing it for years. And so I remember watching him on TV, and he prayed for this little girl, I believe it was a little girl who had deaf ears. He prayed for her, put his fingers in her ears and commanded her to hear. And her ears ultimately opened, and in front of a crowd of, 10,000, 20,000 people, the place goes crazy. The girl can't stand the hearing because it's so loud. She'd never heard anything like that. And I remember thinking, how many lives are going to be changed because of this girl's life?
Right.
And I thought, man, God, if you can use Benny Hinn, you can use me. Well, I'm in the passion play. I'm in this play. I'm running around doing my lines and everything. At the end of it, we take our bow and we come to the front, and the crowd gets to come down and meet us. This lady brings this little boy up, about 6 years old. And she says, my son wants to meet you. And I'm like, well, why does he want to meet me? Because I'm I'm a secondary actor. Here's Jesus. Jesus, you want to meet Jesus. And so he's been beating on his chest, asking to meet you the whole time. I'm like, okay, so why is he beating on his chest? I'm curious. She says, well, because he's deaf and he's dumb. He can't speak. And so when he's beating on his chest, my heart wants to meet him, right? Wow. And he's pointing at me everywhere I'm at. And so I'm like, okay, so can I pray for him? And as all I can do is what I saw Benny Hinn do, right? Right. I just put my fingers in his ears and I say, in the name of Jesus, you deaf and dumb spirit, I command you to get out of this little boy. His ears pop open. He's completely healed. And I hear the Holy Spirit say, if I can use Benny Hinn, I can use you. And so this starts me on this connection where ministry and acting work together.
Yeah, intertwined.
They're intertwined. And so I'm in this space where I'm like, okay, I need to see this more. And, you know, did
the mom lose her mind?
Well, yeah, I was losing my mind. I was like,
were you like, really?
Literally, like I went to this, like, you know, you get something happens miraculous. I get this tunnel vision. I'm like excited for everybody else, but I'm like really looking at going, man, this was awesome. God, can we do this again? Right. And yes, everyone's having a good time. But I really don't know what they're doing. I'm thinking, can we do this again, God? I want to see this again. I want to have this power again. And so I just go on this search for power.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude. Unbelievable. How old are you at this point?
I'm just newly saved. So I'm 20. I get saved at 21.
21.
Right before I get saved at 20. So November. And you know, so my birthday is in March, so I get saved just months before my 21 birthday.
What day in March is your birthday?
The 17th.
17th, on March 9th.
Come on, Brad.
So okay, so by the way, you keep saying you got saved,
yeah,
and we're assuming that all my listeners know what that means.
Yeah,
I want you to explain that.
Okay, so and I'm glad you brought that up because the part of when you meet Jesus, you bring Jesus, you present your heart and your life to Jesus, and you ask Jesus to come into your heart to be your Lord and Savior. Now, the gospel is very clear that humanity has sin. And it's not because anyone specifically, like I'm a sinner, not necessarily because of my actions, but because the fact that Adam sinned. And his sin, because we're a byproduct of him, has become our sin. And Jesus wanted to be the one that would set us free from that original sin and the sins that we live in. Jesus comes, gives his life for us, dies on the cross. So if you never heard of why Jesus died on the cross, is because he's dealing with your sin and the original sin. Yeah. And he's taken it all.
And what was the original sin?
The original sin was a sin of disobedience, right? It's a sin of disobedience where God said, I have a best life for you. And I set before you two options, the best life or the life that is the knowledge of good and evil life, which is the knowledge that you have ability to fail. You have the ability to miss the mark. And when he was in his curiosity, with his wife, took of that knowledge of good and evil, which was the life that you had to experience life on your own, and he did it out of disobedience. Right. And just a short answer. Yeah. Of course, there's a doctrinal answer, but that's a short answer. He disobeyed God in the sense that God had a better plan for him, and he chose the plan that was just that was urgent, that made him feel good. Yep. And in that, the Lord, in God's response was, okay, you made a mistake, but I'm going to fix your mistake by sending my son. And Jesus came as the Son of God, died on the cross for us, and rose again. His life, and showed us that we can have a new life after all of the challenges and all the problems and pain. So when I got saved, it's what I'm doing is when you give your heart to the Lord, you say, well, I accept the fact that you paid all of the price for me. I don't need to pay the price again for my sins. I don't need to pay the price of death, hell. I don't need to do that. I can now start living a life that is a flourishing life. And you get basically a Mario Brother reset.
Exactly. So it's basically like the old life is dead.
Yeah.
And you got the new life, which is why they call it born again.
Born again.
Right?
Yeah.
Now you got this new life.
Yeah. You're born from God, not born from just your parents, but you're born from God. Now God becomes your father, and he wants to be a part of all that you do. Every aspect of a father is to be needed. right? You have a daughter, you have a son,
daughter, and a son.
I mean, the very thing that makes us a father is that not just that we gave birth to them, or we actually participated in the experience.
It's all us. It's all us.
We did it all.
Yeah.
But the fact is a father picture is to want someone who wants to be helpful, wants to be involved, wants to be actively involved, and wants to be needed. And so as God, our Father, he wants to be needed. We pray because he wants to be needed. We pray because he wants to be invited into what we do. And so that life is a wonderful life.
And for those that are, like me, I didn't have a father. I had one, but he was not involved in my life at all.
Yeah.
And something when I got here to Awaken, and I got 2 years ago, got saved, what Jürgen was saying, well, you JD, you have a heavenly Father.
Yeah.
That loves you.
Yeah.
That wants you.
Yeah.
That wants to be a part of your life. And I was like, wow, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I can buy into this.
Yeah.
So keep going with this I want you to go with this a little bit more about how much he just wants you to be, because a lot of us will stray away and go away, and right.
Yeah.
And he's always there.
Yeah.
Right. Go with that a little bit.
Well, one of the great stories in the Bible is a young guy who's working with his family business, and he comes to the father and says, "Hey, I want what's mine. I've been working. There's equity for me in this business, equity in our life. I want what's mine, and I want to just go and do my thing." And so the father says, "Hey, here's your portion of the business." And he takes his portion of the business, and he hangs around with the family for a while, but then he decides, I'm going to just really break out on my own. He goes to another city. He starts to spend everything. He doesn't know how to invest it. He doesn't know he didn't learn from his father how to do business. Yeah. He learned from his father how to spend, basically.
Right.
Even not even how to spend, but he learned that there's money there. He takes the money, he spends, wastes it. And it becomes really desperate. It becomes a time of famine for him. And he ends up working for someone else that is not like his father, a citizen of that territory. And the guy puts him to work with the pigs, and he's working with the pigs. And this kid has never been around pigs. He's a kosher kid, right? He's never been around pigs. But yet he's so hungry. He's so hungry, so desperate that he says, I'm just so hungry. If someone would just give me some of this food that he's going to give that I'm giving to the pigs, if I can just eat some of this. That's how desperate he was. That's how much he lowered his standard. Then he has this idea. Why am I wanting to lower my standard in my life to this? He says, my father's servants eat better than this. He goes, why don't I just go home and say, Dad, I'm sorry, I sinned against heaven. I sinned against you. Your servants are eating better than I'm eating right now. Don't call me a son. Just call me a servant. Yeah. Let me be one of your hired servants. Can you hire me? And the father looks at him. Well, first of all, the father runs to him, hugs him, kisses him, loves him. And as this kid is going through his monologue, the father doesn't even pay attention to the monologue and just simply says, servants, come here. I want you to put on a robe. I want to put the robe on him. I want you to put the ring on him. And I want you to put new shoes on him. This is now a new royal position. The father didn't look at the son and go, you are such a knucklehead. I knew you would fail. The father looked at him and said, listen, I have another level for you because you failed. And what we don't understand is that God doesn't look at us as a failure. He knows you've already paid the price. He knows you already been through pain. I'm not going to make you have more pain. I'm going to actually put on you the kind of position that belongs to you anyways. In your school of hard knocks, you're going to learn from that. That's you. That's not a part of me. That's not what comes from me. That comes from your own decision. But this story is really about the father, not about the son. This is about the father that puts a robe on him, says, you are still royalty. He never actually says to the son or servants, go clean up the boy. Go clean him up. He smells like pigs. We don't have pigs. He didn't say clean up. He didn't say get perfect. He didn't say anything. He says, I've got royalty for you. And he takes this red robe and he completely wraps the son's past in the red. That's the blood of Jesus. Yeah. He wraps the son in the red robe and puts on royalty. Never says you stink. I can't believe how much you've done this. He wraps him in royalty first. Then he says, I put a ring on you. Put a ring on his finger. He gives him the signet ring of the family. The signet ring, the signet crest, that whatever he declares is going to be. He now has authority again. Sometimes we don't realize that the Father just simply wants to restore us to what we are supposed to have.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to beat us up. He doesn't want to hurt us. And, he wants to help us. That's the Father's need, is to be needed. And so then the next thing he says, now here, son, put on him, put on his feet new shoes. Take the pig poop shoes off. We're going to put the new shoes on him, put the new shoes on him. Now this means that the journey that I have for you is new. It's fresh. There's nothing of your old. Your calling is set. There's an anointing for your life to walk in it. And then the fourth thing he says is go and get that fat calf, the one that we've been giving special grain to. The one that it's special. It's like that bottle of wine that we've been saving because it's like the best of the best.
Yeah.
Go get that. And he doesn't serve him the leftovers. He doesn't serve him, the servant's food. Now remember, he came back and said, just treat me like a servant. What he's doing is he's elevating him beyond that, even in the position that he had before. Right? Yeah. God doesn't want to he's not good if he just gets you to where you were. He's only good if he takes you to where you had never been, even though you failed, right?
Yeah.
There's a Jewish idea that if a dog does something bad, he chews up the couch or something, does something bad. He knows he's not supposed to do it. What do? Do you beat the dog? No, you give the dog a bone because he already knows, he feels bad that he's done what he's done. So give him a bone. Why do you reward him? So that he knows that he doesn't have to feel the guilt and the shame of the past, and he can go on and be loved by the master again, right? And so when we realize that God, gets this fat calf and says, we're going to have a party, and they're celebrating, that's the heart of the Father. The heart of the Father's, he has to be good. He has to be better than what you've had. And you've already had the norm, so he has to be, I'm sorry to get into that, but
no, I asked you to. So I'm loving this.
Yeah. So this place of the Father is a beautiful space.
And so what's the main reason for people to fall off, to not strive, to not be obsessed, to not be a go-getter?
Yeah.
What happens in our society or the world?
Well, I think there's a sense of, the whole original thing. There's a sense of entitlement, right? There's a sense of life should be easy. Life should be fair. The word fair is not actually a real word. It's a word that's made up to try to explain why the emotions that I feel. But life should be just. Like justice is a different word. It's a word that has legal ramifications to it. It's a application and the response. It's a cause and effect. But fair is not a cause and effect. So a lot of people think life should be fair. Right. And so when something happens, they're like, this is not fair. And so they go and they do emotionally what is fair. The original sin is a sin of urgency, right? The sin of urgency. So you have an urge. Now, what makes it wrong, that urge? Well, when you give that urge, whatever that urge is, you give it the timing that it's not supposed to have. You make it an urgency. It didn't mean that we weren't supposed to have that ultimately, that tree, but it meant that we were supposed to have it in its right time. Right. And so when we do things outside of timing, it's because we don't know delayed gratification. How many times you work with someone in business, you have to help them understand, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to set up a process. We're going to set up a systematic approach to it that you can achieve it. Well, everybody wants it now. I mean, right now, the biggest thing that we have to do, we have to learn to do, the number one thing that millennials and probably not Gen Z, I see a different thing on Gen Zers, but on millennials and probably even some baby boomers, but millennials is that we don't want to make money the way our parents made money. Yeah. They made money 65 years. They get a little, they make enough money to live, and and then at the end of it, we get a little gold watch. Right. The millennials are going, we're smarter than that. We don't want to make money that way. We want to make fast money. Well, right now, that's what social media is about. That's what most people are trying to do. And social media is they're trying to make fast money. Well, fast money is literally what it is. It's fast money, but it's not legacy money. Right. And so we need to think not only income, but equity. And so most people don't think equity. They think income. They don't think, how is this going to live when I'm not living? Yeah. Where is this going to end? And so if I can get my millions, then I'm going to be in a good place. And most people, Like you said to me earlier, wow, you're doing a lot on social media. Well, I've never done a lot on social media because I know social media is income and not equity.
Yeah.
It may help me in my equity, but I spend a lot of time on equity. I spend a lot of time on things that are going to outlive me. The legacies, the things that are undergirded by, it's a root system that you don't see flourishing yet, right?
Right.
And so this is where a lot of people fall off. They start to live by income and they live by the immediate gratification. How can I get what I want? How can I go on the vacation I want? How can I do what I do? And not really understanding the price of that and the price of ultimately at some point, you're going to have to work on equity. You're going to have to work on something that is legacy.
And so how much right now, on this same strain here, how much entitlement is happening? Like is it just the worst it's ever been? The kids that just feel so entitled?
Well, yeah, and I think the realization is we sell something. We sell a hope when we sell a dream in America, which is a true dream. But when you sell that hope and that dream, you have to actually also have a plan. And so we sell often how to. So if you part of my world in media and in personal branding and helping people become what they are, it's helping them understand, yes, okay, this is the how to. So we'll talk about the strategies and we'll talk about the tactics. But the realization is most people don't want the understanding of why we have these. And they just want to show me the how-tos.
Yeah.
Like, so if I go and Google anything or if I go on YouTube anything, it's all how-to based. It's tactic oriented.
Right.
Well, with all of the tactics out there, we should literally be the most equipped people in the world. Why? But the problem is most people don't work on their personal. They don't work on who they are to even match the how-tos that they're getting.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people that they go and they buy programs and they're in programs and they have programs. But their core being, who they are, can't ever implement that because they don't know the who, they only know the how. And so we need to come back to the personal.
Who they are, whose they are.
Whose they are.
Right?
Yeah, who they are, whose they are, and the way of implementation, right? How to implement who that is and how to do that. Most people don't know implementation. They don't know the real actions that are necessary to get the how. So they'll try it. They'll go to this video. Yeah. They'll go to this podcast. They'll do this. They'll get the how-tos. And the next thing you know, they're trying to implement it, but they don't have this. They've never had the steady discipline. They don't know how to say no to their cravings or their urgencies, right? They allow their urge to supersede everything else. And so part of coaching, part of the world that I'm in, I coach people how to say no to your urge so that you can have and not have urgency. Because if you have an urge that controls your timing, then it becomes urgency. I don't want you to lose the urge. I want you to create the urge and make it an obsession. Yeah. An obsession is not an urge that I actually am willing to stay in this thing long haul to get what I see, right? A lot of people think obsession is just the immediate gratification. No. Obsession is a person who actually stays in it a long haul. Being enthusiastic or being excited about something is what most people live in. And they live in this place of passion. Right. This place of passion is a flighty thing. Obsession is a stick to it. I'm staying with it. I'm locked in it. It may take me years to get there, but I'm going to get there. The long haul. The long haul.
And so how do you coach? And we're going to talk about everything that you actually do. Yeah. Because we didn't talk about it in the intro here. Yeah. But what do you advise for people listening, watching? Like, where do you start? Do you start within? Like, who am I? Like, how do you start to do that?
Most people have traded what coaching. When I started coaching was about results coaching. It was about personal development. Right. Knowing that I work with individuals that run $50 million, $100 million companies. Well, these companies, they don't need me actually to come and give them any hows. I had to teach them how to run their business. I elevate their business by elevating the leader. When the leader's elevated, when I help them in their personal levels, when I help them see, blind spots, what we call scotomas, when I help them see the blind spots that they don't see, I help them correct those areas. It gives them a confidence, a courage. It gives them something within that helps them now apply everything that they know. Yeah. Because the application of the knowledge is is never going to happen if you don't feel like you're the person to apply it.
Wow.
And so we need you to become the person that can apply the knowledge, the knowing. So personal development, having the results coach, having the mentor, having that person in your life that is able not just to be accountability partner, because I don't know if I believe in accountability partners, because most of the time they just allow you to get away with complaint.
Right.
You come to me, you complain, I'm not going to accept it. Your complaint is an excuse to why what I teach you is not going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I don't want any excuses. We are going to figure a way to do it, right? There's always a way to do it. I'm sorry.
When you really want to do something, when you really want to do something, you figure out a way.
You figure out a way.
And excuses, I say this all the time, are crutches for the weak.
Excuses are crutches
for the weak.
For the weak. I don't accept an excuse. Now, we may have a reason, but the reason never gives us an excuse. Right. So there's a reason, excuse are different. So an excuse is I'm excusing myself from the fact that I needed to do it. I don't want that, because that makes you immediately unteachable. When you're unteachable, I can't help you. I want you to just keep on going, find another coach. But if you really want to work with me, and this is another reason I've never been really big on social media, is because most of my clients aren't.
Yeah.
Most of my clients, they're 100 million. They're not actually people who are, they may have some LinkedIn, but their life is super private.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So there's a whole different space.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So, what's the first thing you start? Like, where do you start with somebody to say, like, because you're saying it's all about basically confidence in yourself?
Well, that's a good aspect. Yeah. Because you will never take a step unless you're confident, right? Part of walking.
Yeah.
You see a person who's insecure and they're walking. I mean, they're stiff. Their arms are stiff. They have no flow to them. You can tell in a way their posture, their charisma, right? That is all presentable. I mean, that is all brand. When I came walking into your space here today, man, I'm telling you, you own this space. You're like a lion walking up in this joint. I'm like, shoot, this is territory. I better not roar, right? This is right. that because you own it. This is your spot. This is your space. You're pointing out things, and this is your space. When you own that space, when you own yourself in that space, when you have confidence, there's literally nothing that will stop you. You literally will be the person that will make whatever needs to happen.
Wow. And
so we elevate people. The understanding. So I have a guy I was coaching, he bring me in, and I'm going to spend 24 hours with him. I'm with him, not with his staff, not with his team. With him. He's a high level guy. And as I'm spending this time, the first day, I'm really just saying nothing. I'm not
letting him talk?
I'm just letting him talk. Just talk. And what I'm doing is I'm listening to what Freud called the slips, right? The slips. And so I hear him say this term, it's so hard. It's so hard. And he doesn't catch him saying it. And so we go to dinner. We spend all day in his office. We go to dinner that night. The next day, I'm getting ready to leave, and I'm like, okay, let's have a session. And I say, this is what I found in all day. You said this word hard this many times, and I said and this is simple coaching. You think it's simple, but it's scotoma, right? It's their blind spot.
Yeah.
And I said the fact is that you say it's hard. No one likes anything hard. The last time you experienced hard is when you fell down or you hit a wall or you physically know hard hurts. And so when you say something is hard, you're immediately telling yourself it hurts. So I'm not going to go there. No one runs at a wall. Part of one of my books is experimentalist. Experimentalist is one of the statements is to be able to run full on at a wall, knowing that the wall is going to break. I'm not going to. Understanding that God is giving you this power to break through limitations. Well, when you tell yourself something's hard, you immediately build a wall that you're not going to give. You ever ran towards a wall? You actually slow down before you get there. Yeah. And you kind of like lean into it, but you never give your full force. Most people live in apprehension and hesitation. And so I said, most people. So when you say it's hard, you are building in you an apprehension.
Wow.
You're building in you a hesitation. And that hesitation, that stutter step, that stuttering in your talk is what's destroying that cell. That's destroying that hesitation. It's a blink to you, but it's in someone else's mind. It's an absolute huge response that says you're not confident. You don't know what you're doing. I can't give you my work. And so these doors are closing. I said, what we're going to do is we're going to just change this one word. And this is not always the same count,
right?
But we're going to change this one word. I said, instead of hard, let's know it's challenging.
Challenging, yeah.
It's challenging. But challenge has never been a problem.
Right.
Challenges are great. Challenges are opportunities. So no one looks at a challenge and says, oh, this is a challenge. Well, most people that are achievers, go-getters say, oh, it's a challenge. That means opportunity. It's hard. You talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
And so that was a simple kind of, what do? We're going to first listen to your language. Second of all, I have an app that I take people through literally. And the first thing is an assessment. So we do an assessment with you. If I were to do it, we'd open up the app and you go through the assessment, and the assessment then is, we pick the top 3 things that are sabotaging your life.
Yeah.
We don't pick the top 3 things that you're moving. These are sabotage areas. We're going to deal with bringing those to a place of management. We're going to put systems in the place of management so they don't kill your success. Right now, they're drawing you down. Yeah. They're the crabs that are pulling you back into the pot.
Yes.
We're going to deal with those crabs right now. And then we're going to make sure that you are now able to allow the rest of the fullness of who you are to excel, right? Most people are being drugged down by just 1 or 2 things, right?
Yeah.
Jesus said to the young rich ruler, he's the young rich ruler. He says, oh, what should I do? You do this, do this. I've done all of those things. But Jesus said, there's one thing, right? So we help you with that one thing. Most people have the one thing that says, this is what I'm going to excel in. But what about the one thing that's dragging you down? If we just cut the cord on that, how high would you fly? Right? And so what we do is we cut the cord on those things and we let people fly high in their skills and their abilities. And so his business took off. It just went to a whole nother level.
He was already at a big level, right?
Yeah, he's at a big level, just exploded because that hard, it was something he couldn't see. He's like, oh, wow. And it was like an aha moment. And so I'm like, that's what I did.
And then with the app, so you're saying when you get into you can find it right away. Do you find it every time you can see it? Is it like glaring? Like
yeah,
what they have?
It is obvious because I asked. There's nine aspects of life, 9 aspects of a person's life that hold them back or move them forward.
Can you hit on a couple?
Well, I mean, first it's just stuff that look at your body. I mean, fitness, health, feeling good about yourself. Another guy I was coaching, I said, listen. I said, you work so hard, you come back, you never give yourself a recreation. You never recreate yourself. So how in the world can you come back in a new level of energy? He's dragging. He's got no energy. He's leading this company, 500 people. He's got no energy. And I'm like, you literally work all weekend. I said, this is what you're going to do. We're going to, first of all, give you a time that you have to take off during the day. And then we're going to give you Saturdays you cannot work. You have to turn the phone off. We're going to make you have a Sabbath, basically.
Yeah.
And you're going to recover. You're going to recreate. And then you're going to come out. When you come out on Saturday, Sunday, you come out on Monday. Now you have new creative thoughts. That took his business to another level.
Wow.
This is just things that, simple things, right? Simple things. Because I'm not teaching them how-tos. I'm identifying their string, their anchor. And I'm going to cut that anchor and I'm going to help them soar. And so, fitness, making sure that how
big is fitness? Because I see some people that are just the most incredible people on the planet, yet they are not in good health.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's something there with a lack of confidence in a way.
Yeah.
How big is that?
And I think a person, if you find a person who is at that level, what they have a tendency to do is make fun of their lack of fit.
Yes.
And if they make fun of their lack of fit, they are trying to give an excuse for it. They make a meme of it, but it's just really another excuse of what they know is anchoring them down. And ultimately, they may be working on income, but they're not working on legacy. They're not working on equity. And so I think there's a level of energy, there's a level of confidence, there's a level of courage, there's a level of responsiveness, there's a level of awareness that happens when you work out.
Yeah.
I have the best ideas when I'm working out.
Wow.
My ideas don't come when I'm in prayer. I'm in prayer. I pray, but my ideas come when I'm working out, when my body is under submission, when my body's not taking control of my cravings, when my body's out of play. You can do that through prayer and fasting, or you can do it through working out.
Yeah.
I put my body under submission when I work out and I make it hurt. And so, but at that time, I'm now my spirit life is taken off. My soul is lifted. And so I think working out is huge. Family. There's a lot of people. One guy that I was coaching, top Mercedes-Benz salesman in all the nation, making so much money, stinking just so much money, and grew up in the Bronx, hated poverty, couldn't stand poverty, but couldn't make family work, couldn't make homework. And so we sat down, have a session, and I'm like, okay, listen, let's find out what you want. We go through the thing. Family's low. It's like, man, everything is rocking. He's making money. His people at work love him. Everything's good. And the next thing you know, we find out he's like, man, my family's falling apart. I'm like, let's talk about this. I'm like, so you go to work, you make people feel good. You're able to sell anything. Said, do you do any of that skill at home?
Right.
No, you don't do. He didn't do it. He doesn't. I said, well, you are the best salesman in the world here. You make so much money. You're rocking it. You're the top, right? Well, how come you can't sell yourself at home? How come you can't how come you can't take the same tools, the same skills, and make your wife feel like she's $1 million?
Yes.
Make your son and daughter feel. And so we just basically said, you think you're different at work than you are at home. And that's why you get the results that you get. You get results because you hate poverty. Well, you have poverty at home. You have emotional poverty at home. Why don't you hate that? Let's hate emotional poverty. You are impoverishing your family. You're destroying your wife's emotions. You're destroying your kids' emotions because your best emotions are left at work. And you come home and you're dragging your tail.
Yeah.
Right. So we just, sometimes they just need a good coach.
Yeah. I talk about that a lot, is how, do you give your wife and family everything you've got, or what's left over from grinding in the day?
Right.
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 Why is it so common to just give everything we've got to the career, to the business, to whatever, and then come home and not give it everything we've got? Why is that so? Is it? Do we take it for granted?
Well, we take it for granted, but men, let me just say, a lot of people don't make goals for their homes. They make goals for their work. We're going to set this, they forecast things for work. One of the things when I do marital counseling, I do premarital counseling. Yeah. I'm like, okay, what we're going to do is I can tell you guys love each other. You're so cute. My first goal is to see if I can break you up before you get married. My second goal is, if you want to continue forward, to go and dream with you, what does 5 years look like? And 5 years from now, I want you right now, you both to sit down, and I want you to dream about, tell me like in minute by minute account of what does a day in your life 5 years from now look like. All right. So you can't tell me, okay, go home in a week, come and tell me what a day 5 years into your marriage looks like. Do you go to work at the same place? Do you go to work at separate places? How do you wake up? And then we're going to do minute by minute account of the first hour. We're going to spend an hour, and you're going to tell me what this first hour of waking up looks like to you. Right? Most people don't do that. No. They do that for your business.
Yes.
They do that for business, but they don't do that for marriage. They don't spin. Okay. What is 5 years into it? Most things of covenant break in 5 years. Businesses fail in 5 years. Marriages are failing. Right. So we have to know that 5 year mark is.
That's why this 5 years is significant.
That's why that's significant.
Okay.
So 5 years from now, you're waking up. What alarm do you, when I'm coaching people go to the next level, 5 years from now, you're waking up. What kind of alarm do you wake up to? Do you allow alarm to wake you up? What kind of toothpaste do you use? What kind of toothbrush do you use? And I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to envision exactly what you're going to be doing 5 years from now, so that it's recognizable. We need to be able to see it.
Wow.
Right. And so we do that. We dial it in with marriage. We dial it in with family. And most people don't actually plan their lives. Most people spend more time planning a vacation than they do planning their life.
Their actual life.
Yeah. So they'll plan a vacation. We're going to rent an RV, buddy. We're going to get that RV, get it going. Right? We're going to take an RV to Coeur d'Alene this week, right? Right. They do that. They spend all of that time, but they have not spent that time planning their life. They actually just work where they work because it fell into their lap. They didn't plan where they were going. And so you have to plan where you're going. You have to actually set something in front of you and then take the actions necessary to get there.
This is so good right here. Seriously, right here. this lane right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think it's like the number one biggest problem of why there's so many divorces, why the families are so messed up, why kids are so messed up.
Yeah. Well, kids know when you're not intentional.
Correct.
Kids, I mean, they are so authentic. They know when you're not intentional. When you're not intentional, you're guessing. You're like, oh, we're going to play it by the hip. Well, people know when you're hipping it. And so, we need to be intentional.
And they can feel if the vibration is off in the home and between mommy and daddy, if mommy and daddy are even together still.
Yeah, right.
If they're together, they can feel that vibration is off.
Yes.
What does that do?
Well, that, of course, it's like, Charlie Brown and the little guy with the pig pen.
Yeah.
You remember Pigpen? He has
of course.
He has
the dust around
him. Well, that's what it's like in a home where it's not flowing, right? You got the pig pen flow. It's like, no matter what, the atmosphere is the atmosphere. Yeah. A child learns several things from a parent. First of all, it learns, think about the thermostat, right? Yeah. It knows, okay, that child knows, okay, mom, I'm not going to talk to her right now. She's in her thing. They're actually now, their whole life is responding to how mom and dad are.
Yeah.
Right. They're not ever in charge. They are always in response. That's number one. Number two, a child doesn't know poverty unless a parent knows poverty. Poverty is experienced by the response of a parent. A parent says, oh, we can't do that because we just can't afford it. That's implementing poverty, that poverty mindset. And that also works in poverty in every level. I'm not talking about just financial, right, emotional time. I don't have enough time right now. Well, you never have time. How many of you've heard that on TV, right? At least, right? Well, you never have time. You never have time for me. Well, that's poverty. And when you understand that, well, there needs to be a training that I'm very busy, but there are times that we have, right? There's times that we, take my daughter to go do stuff. She travels with me, or my son travels with me. There's times that we go, okay, listen, you're going to come and do this with me, and we're going to be intentional about it.
Yeah.
Right. And so, we have to attack poverty. We can't use the terms, I don't have enough. Let's say, I will make time for you now, then. I have to do this now, but I will make time for you then. Right. That's not saying I don't have enough time. It says I'm intentional with my time. Right. And that's something that a child needs to learn. Right. Or we have money associated to this right now, but if you will help me in these next areas, turn the lights off, clean your room, whatever, then we can go to Disneyland. Right. So there's now an understanding that poverty is not a part of it, but application of my will and my strength to participate is actually right. There's lots of things we can teach.
Yeah. And so this is crazy. This is amazing. I love this. I'm loving it. I love this topic. So what is it like? How important is the programming in the home with these words? This poverty thing was not just money. Yeah. It's emotions, right?
Yeah. Poverty is not a money thing. Poverty is a mental and emotional thing. You can be depleted and not have the ability to respond. Poverty is about the lack of resources, right? So if you understand you have the lack of resources in a conversation, if you don't know how to respond to a conversation, you are impoverished in communication, right? If you don't know what to say in a moment, you're impoverished, because poverty is a fact that I lack margin or resources to fill this space.
Wow. All right. So, okay. So now, you do premarital counseling.
Yeah.
Do you do family stuff too?
I don't do it a lot. Do I do family stuff? I have. I don't do a lot of that anymore. I do some, but I try not to do a lot. I don't want people calling saying, "Hey, will you do my premarital?" Right? Yeah, it's right. Like I don't. There's individuals I will do it for, and there's individuals that I won't.
All right. So now we're going to go back, because you're in your low to mid 20s now. Right?
Okay, we're back to that. Okay,
we're going to go, because we're going to come full circle here, because I still want to flow on some of this stuff here, because I'm loving it. But you were doing the evangelism stuff, right? Yeah. When did you get with your own church? Like, where did your career take a thing?
Well, I ended up I moved down to Southern California to San Juan Capistrano to go into Bible school. So that's how I get to Southern Cal. And I'm in Bible school, and I'm like, okay, I'm I'm in Bible school, but I know this stuff, right? I know it. And so I found that I could actually just come in and take the test. I don't have to come to the classes.
Yeah.
I come and take the test. I'm going to be cool. So what I did is I started an espresso business. I started in Orange County. I started in California at the time when I moved down, espresso wasn't as popping it is now, or the coffee business wasn't. Starbucks wasn't yet here. Starbucks was in Washington, and I had a espresso cart, right, business. So I came down, wanted to do an espresso cart here and put myself through school. So I started one in Orange County. But Orange County didn't have any regulations for it. So I ended up designing the espresso cart platform for Orange County's health department.
Yeah.
And so I started an espresso business and put myself through college. And so at the end of college, running this business, I ended up selling the business, getting rid of the business. And then I go into full-time ministry as a youth pastor.
Which church were you with originally?
Life Church.
Life Church
In Orange County, yeah.
Okay.
San Juan Capistrano.
All right, take it from there.
So from there, I'm youth pastor for a few years, do pretty good at it. And I feel this now calling to go out and speak, but I don't know how to do it. I pick a guy up who's going to be a guest speaker at the church from the airport. I'm transportation at the time. And he says, do you come out and do you preach? I said, well, I'm a youth pastor. He goes, well, do you do camps? Youth camps. I'm like, yeah, I do youth camps. I'd never done one before, but I will do one. And so he invited me to come and do a youth camp, and it exploded. It was just fun. It was something that they'd never experienced before. God was good to us, and
it came naturally to you, just flowed.
Yeah, and I've been working with youth for a couple of years, my own youth. So I just basically did the same thing there. I talked to a couple of people who were evangelists, and they would preach out, and they say, well, on the first night you do this, the second night you do this, the third night you do this. Yeah. Kind of take them on a journey, and don't just hit them all with one. So you have something to do. And that was enough framework for me. And so after that, I used my sales, the stuff that I learned in I used to sell cell phones. Yeah. Some of the stuff I learned in selling cell phones. I said, well, if this was a good meeting for you, would you be willing to tell 3 other people? Right. And so I started my ministry with referrals. He contacted 3 other people. They had me come in, and then each one of those, I asked the same thing. Do you know 3 other people that would benefit from this? And then they all and now I'm at 9 and then 18. And then the next thing you know, I'm traveling full time. And then my pastor says, well, you're so busy traveling. Why don't you just go full time? You build a good youth team. And then I went full time in traveling ministry.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, are you married at this point or no?
right when I started the traveling, we were just newly married. And so my wife I would leave and travel on Friday, and then she would come on Saturday because she worked a job for another minister, and she would meet me on Saturday, and then we would spend the weekend wherever we were in DC, wherever, and then that's how our ministry started.
And how did you guys meet?
We met in Newport. A friend was having a birthday party, my friend, and he says, I invited some other people to come. I'm like, oh man, I thought it was just going to be us guys hanging out, going to eat. And he says, well, I invited 2 girls. And I'm like, well, I'm going to bring my other roommate so that we don't have just a couples, right? So 3 guys, 2 girls, we just hang out. And as soon as I saw her, I'm like, okay, well, this is interesting. You look familiar to me, because I've been praying for my wife for many years.
You have.
She'd been praying for me, and it was like a recognition. And so,
what were you praying for?
I was praying for a wife that, loved family, that could have legacy. I just prayed all the things that I thought that would benefit us together in achieving. Someone that was ministry minded. I talked to some girls before, and I'd say, what are you called to do? That was my number one. That was my lead question. What are you called to do? And they'd say, oh, I'm waiting for my husband, waiting to find out what he's called to do. And I'm like, scratch.
Interesting.
And I asked my wife that first day I met her, I said, what are you called to do? She says, I'm called to travel the world, preach the gospel, heal the sick, and raise up orphans. And I said, and I didn't talk to her the rest of the night because it freaked me out. I was like, she hit the mark right there.
So you did not dig further?
I didn't dig further. I was like, okay, this is too crazy. She's really, really attractive to me. And the fact is, she said this made it even more attractive, and it's crazy. And I'm not going to, because I'm not here for that. And then.
So hold on. So she tells you her calling and you say, okay, cool. Nice to meet you, and walked away.
Yeah. I just kind of stayed away. Yeah, I don't know. That was my response.
How can you not continue that conversation?
Because posture, man. I don't know. I was trying to posture myself. I was trying to, because most of the time you're not expecting the right answer. You're expecting some kind of like, oh yeah, I'm waiting for but the right answer. And I'm like, okay. One of the things that I knew is I knew some things about my wife, and
so you knew her already.
Well, I didn't know her. I just met her, but I knew some things just by prayer.
Yeah.
In prayer, you get a sense of things, and so. It was quite interesting. She gets in the car with my friend as they're going home. And he asked her immediately. Him and the other girl asked her immediately, "Is Tracey your husband? Could you be into Tracey?" And she's like, "What are you talking about? I'm just met him. I don't want to talk about this." She did the same thing, but in the car. I don't want to talk about this. But it was such an attraction that we ultimately ended up talking and getting together. So we started making plans.
So hold on.
Yeah.
So you're in the car, or they're in the car.
They're in their car.
They're in the car. What made them ask that question?
Well, they sensed something.
Did you tell them?
No,
or did they just
there was no
it?
conversation. They sensed something. There was no conversation. I didn't say to them anything. She didn't say anything. There was just this sense that when we talked, and there's like, psh,
did you get her number before she left? Nothing.
It was just nothing at all.
Nothing.
It wasn't smooth at all. It wasn't cool. It wasn't smooth. It wasn't.
Man.
It was completely. If this was going to happen, God was going to do it.
Totally.
Because it was not at all smooth. It was just completely like brakes.
Yeah, you basically froze up.
Just froze up.
Like deer in headlights.
This is like crazy. And
all right, so hold on.
Yeah.
So
I'm knocking over stuff. You make it laugh.
Huh?
You're making me laugh.
Look at this. So how did the next contact happen? Like, did you say, "Hey, give me your number"? Or did your buddy say, "How did how did we continue here?"
Well, my buddy he starts talking to me about her.
Okay,
and I'm like, okay, so
you didn't bring it up.
Well, I know. No, I'm like, well, I did. I asked a question. I said, that girl Natalie. I said, she has a couple kids, right? And so, and he's like, no, she's a nanny. Cause I knew that my wife she had no previous experience, right? So,
yes.
That she was going to be a virgin. I knew that.
Yeah.
And so he goes, cause that was part of the thing, is she was too attractive. She was right. But I kept hearing her talk about these two kids she was taking care of.
Okay, see, you left this out, bro.
I know, but I didn't know if this was going to be super sensitive to someone listening, because I don't want to be offensive.
What do you think we're doing here?
Yeah,
bro?
I know. This
is real deal talk, not fake talk, not weak talk. Let's go.
So I was like, yeah, okay. And so this girl, he told me about this other girl that he knew that was an ex-Playboy bunny that had two kids. And so when he introduced me to Natalie,
thought it was her.
I thought it was her.
Oh, see, now you're...
Yeah. So
like, you don't just hear this information and walk away. There was other stuff in there. You thought she was a Playboy bunny. You thought she had her own kids.
Yeah.
All right, keep going
And
here.
I just knew that wasn't my wife, because I've been praying for her. And so I'm like, okay, I'm too attracted to her to keep talking to her, and this is just going to go the wrong way. And so, but I pulled him aside and said, what's up with this situation? She's ex-Playboy bunny, with, two kids. He goes, no, she's a nanny. And the other girl is this other girl that's in Hollywood that we know. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, well, okay. So when can we all come together again? And
you asked him that.
Yeah. So basically I needed to plan to do something with him and the girl he was interested in, because that was her friend. And then we would come together and hang out and do so group stuff.
Did he broker the deal here?
He brokered the deal. He kept brokering it.
How long after that?
There was a few weeks of brokering, and he brought them to. He was going to go and do a trip to.
Hold on. What was the? Hold on a second. What was the next meeting? Like the original, like you said, when you found out it wasn't the Playboy bunny.
Yeah.
Which is ironic if you think about this. Like he was interested because she was not a Playboy bunny. true man of God. So ironic.
But I could confuse the fact, right, that she was the
totally
right. So
well done, well done. Love that. All right. So what did he say for the next meeting? He say, hey, to his girl, hey, by the way, bring Natalie, right? Bring Natalie.
Yeah.
How did it go?
I don't know how he got it done, but he was getting it done. And one of the meeting that was really the most interesting, I think, was the next one. Is he was going to go to Russia for a mission trip, and he wanted me to pray for him. I said, well, come to the church, and I'll pray for you in one of the services. And so my wife was driving with them, and she's telling the Lord, she goes, if I go into this church and he's worshiping God, and he's really a worshiper, he really is seeking the Lord, and if he has power, if he has signs and wonders and miracles, then it's just going to be too much. I don't want to talk about this. And so she comes in. This is a story she tells. She comes in.
Told you this story.
She tells this story. She tells this story publicly. I'm there in the front, lifting my hands.
So she comes to the
service that
this was the next meeting.
This was the next meeting.
When you told him to come there and you'll pray for him.
Yeah. Were
you setting it up? Did you know he was going to bring her?
I was hoping he would bring her.
Did you tell him to bring her?
I don't remember telling. I don't remember telling. I don't remember telling. I don't remember. I could say, but I don't remember. I don't remember if I did or not.
Yeah, let's just say it.
Yeah, I did. I said, bring that girl, man. I want to show her something.
Right. I'm gonna show her how I pray.
With real power is. Real power.
Show what real power is. All right, go. Oh my God.
So she comes. I'm just doing my thing. I love to worship. I love to be in the face of God, worship with my hands. And so for those of you that don't know, worship, it's a time of where we extend our hearts to God and we make a connection. If you're in a relationship, there's a time where you need to touch someone and they need to touch you, right? When I come and I connect with you, JD, we hug, man. We're like, boom, fist bump, hug, because that touch makes a connection. And so when we worship, that's what we do. We're actually hugging God. We're making that connection with him. And so I'm there and making my connection with God.
And it's usually the music, right?
It's usually music. Yep. We're singing songs that display our heart, that present our heart. It's like a card, we're sending a card to God, right? We're in the music.
And I had never done anything like that in my life. My first service, and everybody's standing up doing this, and I'm like, what's going on here? Like I had never seen, because I had gone to Catholic church where you just kneel and sit, kneel, stand, like the whole time. Yeah. I had never seen music like worshiping like this before. Yeah. And I'm standing up, and I was uncomfortable. First service ever at Awaken. But then I let the music kind of get into me, and I just kind of closed my eyes, and it's like, all right, I'm not going to worry about what's going on around me here, right? I'm not going to worry about everybody waving their hands and singing, and I'm just going to close my eyes a little bit and let the music kind of flow here. And I was looking at the screen to actually read the words. Yeah. And this is first service ever, and I want to tell this story because this is such a great little segue to let people know that I'm like this new Christian. I'm like this newbie, right? Learning on the fly here. And all of a sudden, I remember the first service, I started crying. The tears started coming down my face. And I'm like, what is going on here? Because I've been bottled up for 30 years at that point, right? All of it. And I'm like, I don't know why this is happening. And then I went to another service. The same thing happened. I'm just started weeping. Wow. Not like profuse, a mess.
But it's experience.
But it's coming out of me. And Dr. Matt said, welcome to the Holy Spirit. Yeah. That's the Holy Spirit inside you. He's been waiting for you to come home. Yeah. You're there.
Yeah. Wonderful.
He's flowing. I'm like, really? Is that what that is? Yeah. So go ahead. Keep going.
It's God's touching you back, right? It's like someone hugging you back. And God's hugs are emotional.
They are.
It's emotional. It's like, it's not normal. You've never been touched with this kind of power. So,
and on Sundays now I'll go in, and now I look forward to that worship time, because you literally, because we're all going through a battle. Yeah. Every single human being on planet Earth, if you're breathing, you're battling. Yeah. There's no way around it. So that 10, 15 minutes of worship time with the music, it's a time where you can literally just tune everything out.
Exactly.
And let him in. Yeah. And it's the most incredible feeling that I've ever felt in my life. So go, keep going.
So that's my space. I love that. I'm in that. I've had someone come in and go, so what's up with the karaoke, right? They're like, okay, let me explain this. It's not karaoke. We put the words up there so you can sing it. But the fact is we're experiencing this time of worship. Yeah, it's like, what's up with the karaoke? And so, if you're someone that's never been to a church where that's happening, it may seem like it's a karaoke moment, but there is a touch that happens. There's a hug that comes from God, and you should give yourself to it. So I'm in this time of doing that.
Yeah.
And she comes in and she's like, okay.
So, all right, hold on. Are you on the stage now?
No, I'm actually just in the front.
In the front?
Just in the front.
Okay. She comes in.
I have no idea she's there. I'm just doing my thing.
You didn't know she was coming? Well, or did he give you a pre-warning?
No, I don't think he did.
You don't think?
I
think you knew she was coming. You had the gear on.
I was ready. I was set up.
You were set up. You had the gear. Like, what were you wearing? You were flossing.
I was a youth pastor, so I was probably like just doing youthy things.
So supposedly you didn't know she was there.
Yeah, we're doing the
air quotes right now. Supposedly you didn't know she was there.
I didn't know.
I was just minding my own business.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Worshiping with all the fullness of my heart. Yeah. And
when did you see that she was there?
Well, I think I ended up, Pastor Phil said, we're going to have people come forward. This was my pastor. We're going to have people come forward.
What's Phil's last name?
Muncie.
Okay.
And we're going to have people come forward and we're going to have Tracey pray, and we're going to pray. And so I'm just praying, and I look and I see her there, and I call my friend Daryl.
So are you just praying individually with each person?
Yeah, down.
You're not doing it on a mic or anything?
No, they're coming down the line.
Okay.
And I'm just going from one to another.
Are you dropping anybody? Like
they're all falling. They're all.
Yeah, you hearing this, Andy?
Okay, so
all right. Explain. And what I mean by if you dropping anybody, explain what they're falling and dropping means.
Yeah. Okay, so we're getting into some real serious.
Now, hold on. Did you know she's watching at this point?
Well, when I turned around and I saw Daryl there and my friend, him and his girl and my my wife.
My wife.
Yeah, she wasn't my wife then, but Natalie. I'm like, yeah, I knew. And I called Daryl up. Come on, let me pray for you so you can get your thing. And so, but I had no idea. She's thinking, this guy has to be a man of God. He has to have power.
You didn't even know this at this point.
No, I had no idea.
No idea.
No, but this is just, the flow.
Okay. So, all right. Talk about what it means to drop someone or to lay them out.
Okay. So there's a term, there's a, Christianity, every kind of space has its own language, right? Yeah. Because it's, lawyers have their language, doctors have their language, fitness people have their language, church people have their language, right? Pentecostals, charismatics. So we have this language of when a person gets overwhelmed by God, that they get dropped, like you say, or slain in the spirit.
Yes.
Right. And people ask, well, how does that happen? Why does it happen? And you just, the simple understanding is there's a level of power. There's different levels of power, right? There's the AC, the DC power, there's power that's in the light socket, and then there's power from God. If we take a fork and you put a fork in that light socket there, it's going to hit your nervous system where your knees buckle and you fall over, right? It's the same thing. You're tapping into a power that's from above, a supernatural power from God, and it's actual real power. It's like the same power of electricity, but it's just a different kind of power. It's God power. You literally fold under it. Some people fold, some people like flop, some people, but your body is a nervous system, right? Your nerves can't handle so much power, right? And there's a part that your body starts to short circuit. Not in a negative way. It's very positive. It's very wonderful way. People get healed. People get healed of cancer. People get healed of emotional. Someone healed of PTSD. I mean, there's so much trauma that gets healed when you're in this God power. God power doesn't come to hurt you. It comes to heal you, deliver you, set you free. But your body will respond to it because it is power. Yeah. It is power.
And so how do you how does this come through you?
Yeah.
Obviously, you know that you have the authority.
Yeah. And that's the key word, authority. Authority.
That's it.
And even if someone says, I have the gift of, a gift gives you the authority, right? It's your gift. If I gave you a new watch this week, you have the authority to wear it, authority not to wear it, but it's your gift. I gave it to you. And so a person may have a gift, but they don't unwrap it. You can have a gift that's just completely wrapped. But if you take it out, you're now taking responsibility to use it, to do something with it. And so if you find that you have a gift to help people, then use it.
Yeah. And so can you feel this every time that you're preaching, praying, like you can feel Holy Spirit coming through you? You feel it?
Well, there's different times that I'll feel more inclined to one direction than another. So sometimes I'll feel like there's real power for healing. Yeah. And so we'll pray for healing, pray for the people that are sick. There's times that yesterday I was praying at a place and I felt like there was real emotional healing. So that's where PTSD, some traumas, things were healed. Other times I'll feel like there's a clarity where I can see aspects of your life that I can talk to you about that no one knows except for God. And that's what we call prophecy. So there's a lot of different aspects where the anointing, what we call that, the Holy Spirit impartation or expression, will lead you a direction. Wow. So it's not always the same. So it's like a chef, right? It's like a orchestra. Sometimes you want the cymbals to be a little higher, or sometimes you want the drums to take off. It's more like I'm an orchestra. I'm like the lead of an orchestra, and the Holy Spirit is doing, because he's a person. He's not just, so I'm in cooperation with him, and he wants to do certain things in people's lives. Well, I'm just literally in the front. My gift is to follow him. And I'm like, okay, the Holy Spirit wants to heal here, or the Holy Spirit wants to say something here. And I just try to make that connection between heaven and people. All
right. So and we're talking about Holy Spirit a lot, as though everybody knows what we're talking about. Yeah. Explain the Holy Spirit, God, the Trinity.
Well, this is a privilege to be able to introduce people to the fact that there is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit in the Godhead. Now, the Godhead is God, three aspects of himself in one expression, right? He's one being that expresses himself in three aspects. So the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And in this understanding that the Holy Spirit is the God expression right now on the earth, manifesting himself and ministering to us and through us, right? And there is a power, but there's a person. And when we understand that, most people say, well, the Holy Spirit or a Holy Spirit, they're thinking that's just a force. Yeah. He's not a force. He's a being, he's a person, but he has no limitations. He has no limitations by body. He has no limitations by room size. He has no limitations in any way. He feels all things and is in all things, right? He's the full expression of God. And, we can go all day in that, but the simplicity to keep it simple so we don't find ourselves in a deeper ditch. He is an expression of God that he wanted to be with everyone at one time, because he is all present and all knowing, and he wanted to be able to express himself in all presence and all knowing, all power. So if you think about all presence, all knowing, all powerful, in complete in every way, you can be in Tahiti. I'm in Southern California. He can communicate and talk to us and help us, each one of us, and not be isolated. Where Jesus was walking on the earth, and he was isolated to the room that he was in, to the place that he was in. He was isolated. That was the form of God in wanting to express himself as us, knowing that we are isolated, but we have access to a greater power. How do we draw all of the power into a being? Jesus came and showed us that. Then he said, I'm going to ask for the Father to send you another comforter. That term is one just like me, that he will function in your life the way he functions in my life. And so the Holy Spirit has now come to be that the essence of God's full power in person, manifesting to us and through us.
I love that. Perfect and incredible explanation. All right. Go back to when you were dropping people and Natalie was like starry-eyed.
Yeah. I didn't know she was starry-eyed, but this is the
I'm
night.
Assuming.
Yeah. So we have the powerful time. It was fun. We go to dinner.
So hold on. So the service ends.
Okay, you're gonna get into some messy stuff here.
Does she come up to you? Hey.
Well, yeah, she comes up to me and she's talking to me, but then this strange stuff starts to happen.
Oh no.
Not with her. But I'm a single guy.
Yeah.
in a church, and I didn't realize that there were expectant ladies. So they see something also with Natalie and I, and so they start to like kind of try to get in between. One girl comes and massages my neck, and I'm like, okay, this is weird. One girl tried to, it gets really strange. And so,
this was that day?
This was that day, because I never had I never showed interest in anyone before. And so now the ones that thought, well, maybe this was going to be interesting.
Oh, I love how you're using that word, interesting.
They start acting interesting. And so, and then Natalie starts to go, oh, okay, you have a girl. This is weird. And so we go out to dinner after this, and somehow all of these girls, or this girl and Natalie and these people, are all invited to go. And
oh boy.
Yeah. And so Natalie starts acting like distant. I'm like, okay. So I remember she said, I'm cold. And I tried to give her my jacket, and she says, no, it's okay. I'm like, well, why are you acting strange? She goes, well, you have a girl. I'm like, I don't have a girl. Where's the girl? That girl that was massaging you. I'm like, well, that girl is not my girl. I don't know. She's never massaged me ever before. This is weird. And so we had to kind of work through some of that stuff.
And so did she take the coat?
Yeah, she took the coat. Yeah.
So did you continue the conversation? I
continued the conversation. But when we sat at the table, this girl that was massaging me starts telling her how, she thinks that we're going to be a couple, and it gets interesting. It gets interesting. Yeah.
What was Natalie saying there? What was she?
My wife is like super confident. Yeah. So she doesn't play any games. She's never been a game player. She's not like that. She's just like, okay, well, whatever.
What were you saying? Like, how uncomfortable were you when you said, oh yeah, we're going to be a couple? And
well, she was telling her, I didn't know this until later. I'm talking to Daryl.
I thought you heard it.
No, I didn't know this. She told me later. I'm like, oh, this is a problem.
And then, okay, so then did you get her number?
We end up, Daryl and I, and we go to drop her off. And that's when I said, can I have your number? Can I call you tomorrow?
There we go.
Yeah. And so she gave me her number, and she makes fun of me now because she thought I would call her later in the day, but I think I called her at 6:30 or 7 in the morning, something like that. I just called her next day. Yeah, next day. Yeah. And so, yeah, I was pretty aggressive about it.
There you go. Point, yeah. Well, not that aggressive.
Well, not in the beginning.
The first time you met her, you just totally shunned her.
I had the apprehension.
But that was posturing.
Yeah, it was posturing.
Yeah, so it actually worked.
Yeah.
I see you.
Yeah, I see.
I see you, dude. He who cares the least has the most control.
That's right.
Come on now, let's go. Life lessons, folks. All right, keep going. So what happened from there? So here's what we're going to do. Fly from there, because I want to get into what you're doing. We already talked about your coaching. I want to get into your media space.
Yeah.
We'll do our best to land this thing pretty soon.
Yeah.
But let's flow from there, like into talk to me about family. Anything you want to mention about family, kids? Give me the whole. Go from where now. When with Natalie? When did it get serious?
Well, I made the phone call the next day, and we started talking about all the stuff we're into and what God said and all the promises that we have for our lives, and they all match, and that becomes very serious. So we end up, probably within the 2 weeks, of this relationship where we're connecting, going, either this is God or the devil. And, cause it's so intense and it's moving so quickly. So we make this pact. We said, we're going to spend 3 days apart. We're going to pray. We're going to fast. We're going to ask God, are we the ones, right? Am I? And then 3 days later, we'll come and talk. And so I spend my time
and eat.
And eat.
Yeah.
And eat. Yeah, definitely. So we fast, and the Lord tells me, you are to be her lover. You're to be her teacher. You're to be her protector. He gives me this breakdown of how I'm supposed to posture myself with his daughter, right? And so I hear like, of this is my wife. This is who I'm supposed to be with. This lady. Well, I'll come back to that. But then she hears the same thing. I'm about a day into it, and Natalie's friend calls and says, "So how's it going on your end?" She wants to know, how's it going on your end? I've heard from God. Well, Natalie's heard from God too. You guys want to talk? And so we end up talking and sharing everything that the
within
Lord,
a day.
Yeah,
you
within
didn't make
a day.
It to 3.
You didn't make it to 3. No, but. We knew, and it was great. And then we had, other confirmations that we were right for each other and the right people. So
Or you made it one full day? That's it?
Yeah, I think a day and a half, something like that. Yeah, it was very evident that God was in it.
Oh, wow. All right. So then what'd you do from there? How did it progress?
Well, we started, we never had individual dates.
Yeah.
We actually dated as a couple until we were engaged. I mean, in groups. We actually would do only group stuff, no holding hands, none of that stuff. So we went to concerts, and I took her to Kenny G, and
Kenny G.
Yeah, Kenny G is the jam, man.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so it was fun, and it was like everything, not to just kind of grab her in the midst of Kenny G, right? But it was just fun. We just grew, and then it was Christmas Eve, and I asked her to marry me, and we got married.
Eve.
Yeah, Christmas Eve. I asked her to marry me. So we met in September.
So what year did you get married?
95.
95.
Yeah.
So I proposed to my wife on Christmas Eve. That's interesting.
Wow, that's cool.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have a lot in common, which is fun.
We do.
Yeah.
So 95.
Yeah.
Holy cow! Incredible.
Yeah.
All right. So go from there. You how long after that did you actually get married?
We got married. It was we met in September. We got married the next September. So
okay,
we met in September, got engaged in December, got married in September.
And did you, all the stuff that you were talking about earlier on how you're coaching premarital stuff now? Were you doing that yourself all the way back then at a young age?
Yeah, there were some things that we've added in the sense of knowing that we needed to talk about. So we some of the things we experienced ourselves in talking about, hey, what are we going to do 5 years from now? What does it look like? That's what we incorporated in our premarital coaching, the things that we do. Another thing that we did right away is we made some laws for our marriage.
Yeah.
One was us against the world. No matter what's going on, us against the world. And then the second was we never put each other in a position where we have to defend ourselves. So I never make you defend yourself. You never make me defend myself. We don't do that. We're a team. And then from that, we created these always and nevers. I always do this when I come home. Yeah. I had things that I always wanted, right? I wanted my wife to greet me at the door when I come home or acknowledge that I'm home.
Yeah.
That was an always, and she had always. And then we had nevers. And one of the nevers for me was never mention the word divorce. Just never say divorce is not an acceptable term. If you mention divorce, then the response would be, I'm going to pack your bags and send you to your family, because we cannot have a life where we're trying to hedge our bets with divorce. And then she said, okay, that's great. I'll accept that. And she goes, and my never is never hit me. I said, okay, I'll never. She goes, and if you do, I'm going to wait until you sleep, and I'm going to warm up a big iron hot skillet, the iron skillets with the little diamond on the bottom, and I'm going to hit you all over the head with it on your face, and I'm going to burn that diamond in your face. And my wife is from Amsterdam. She is no joke. She's like, and everyone will know that you hit me. And it's like, okay, I was more afraid than anything. And so we created these laws. We created these always and nevers. Love has always and nevers. Yeah. And so we created these, and that's been, and then, I'm never in a room with a woman by myself. I never drive in a car with a woman by myself. There's these things that keep us safe. For years, we never traveled. I never traveled without my family. I think I traveled. My oldest stopped traveling with me when he was 18. Yeah. And, he but he traveled with me every trip, overnight or whatever. All my kids would do that. It was not until the last 3 years that I traveled without my family, because I grew up without a father. Yeah. So when you grow up without a father, you go, I want to be a father that has my kids, my family with me. And so that I took my family all around the world. They've experienced nations, and they have passports, and yeah. I
love that. Yeah. My wife and I, we make it a point to everything that we do with the kids. We go out to eat, we go to lunch, we go to dinners, everything. We're always with our family, always with the kids, always including them in everything. So how old are you now?
I'm 56.
56, my man. I'm 52. You got me.
Come on.
I was doing some math here. I'm like, because if you got married in 95, that means you got to be in your mid 50s, roughly. Yeah. Okay, so go on from there, and then when you started hitting, when you guys got united, the plan? Did you come up with the plan? Hey, here's where we're going. Like, what was the plan? Hey, here's what we want to do.
The plan was to be itinerant ministers forever. And then when we're old and, need to stop traveling, we'll start a church. That was our plan. But we were going to travel the world, and we were just going to be, preaching and ministering.
And then fast forward ahead where you're at, like the last 10 years to now, church, your own church, right?
We have a church.
Okay,
yeah.
go.
We have a church, Citadel Church in Seattle, Washington. And, the good congregation, good community.
And do you live there primarily now?
I live in Seattle. Yeah.
In Seattle?
Yeah.
Okay, because you were in Orange County for a while.
Yeah.
Right?
I was in Orange County for a while, was in San Diego for a while, moved up, in 2003 to Seattle. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so go on. Tell me about the church.
So the church is great. The church is a community. We've Seattle's had its interesting season, but we have our community is designed around building leaders. My goal is not just to have a church, but my goal is to have a church where leaders are raised up, leaders in the marketplace, leaders that are sent to ministry. And so it's really that leadership focus and kind of high level, what I call upper room kind of experience. Awaken is like that.
Yeah, same style.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, we're building church. My wife really loves to build at church, and we build together, and but we have a great team, and we have a great team of people.
Now talk about leadership, how important it is, not only in the church, but like in society, and to move the needle at all in culture.
Well, I think right now the biggest challenge is we don't know who our leaders are, and we're trying to see and trying to identify, and the world is in a leadership crisis. Probably the recession is not a recession of money or depression of money. It's a depression of leadership. And we need high level leaders. We need people that we can get behind, that are going to be courageous, that are going to be people who do what no one expects them to do. I mean, a lot of people want leaders that they expect to do exactly what we need. Someone who does something a little bit outside of the box, because we're not in a normal society right now.
No.
So we need people who think outside of the box. We need people who can solve problems like never. We have the same ills. And, I wrote a book called Experimentalists, and part of that book is to study the social culture, the social experiences that we have in this world right now, economically, socially, and to look back how long we've had these. We've had them. This are the same 7 ills that the world has experienced have been around forever. We have had leadership after leadership, but no one's correcting the ills of the world. And so we're in the same problem. We need a problem solver. We need people who can make things happen.
And how important is problem solving?
Problem solving is the key, because that's what we have as problems.
Right. Because if you're going to, I've always preached this as well, that we are paid proportionally to the amount and severity of problems that we can solve.
Yeah. That's why you're in business. You're
daily.
Your business with Real Deal mattresses, right? Yep. Is in fact in business for the sake of saving people's lives. Yep. And solving their problems. They have a back problem. They have a sleep problem. They have a snoring problem. They have one, right? That solves problems. You stop solving problems, you go out of business.
Yeah. And sleep is the foundation of health and wellness. Yeah. So we dig in deep.
So good.
All right. So keep going here. You know what? So you and I, did we talk about how you and I met?
No.
Okay. So I joined the Pathfinder program at Awaken Church, which is the marketplace ministry. It's like a 5-month intensive mastermind. I just got into Awaken. They said, you got to do this, JD. So I did it. I applied. I got in. I'm going to fast forward the story. We were having an all-in, which is where all the campuses come together and all of the apprentices and all the leaders. So there's about 150 people in the room. We were at Colin and Melissa Higginbottom's home. By the way, they're the founders of Pathfinders. Colin is one of my best friends in the world.
Yeah, he's a wonderful guy.
Amazing guy. And Melissa, amazing. Both of them been on the podcast. Their podcasts are like world renowned. They showed their whole church, Melissa's podcast in Boise. It was so inspiring. Anyway, the point here is the all in 150 people. I'm sitting there in the crowd and Tracey's firing away. Right. And you did your speech your preach about obsession.
Obsession.
Okay. And so I'm in here and my adrenaline's starting to flow. And this guy, like, cause I'm feeling Tracey. That's why I invited him in here today. He's one of the most incredible preachers and speakers that I've ever seen in my entire life. Like I'm feeling you, right? You're right up my alley. Intense, passionate, loving, just incredible guy that truly cares about, people.
Yeah.
And so he stops his preach in the middle of 150 people and he looks over at me and he just stops and he's quiet and he just looks at me and all of a sudden he starts firing into me about God has put a calling on your name and he's given you permission to become obsessed. You need to become, so I actually now, this is a good segue. That's how you and so anyway, Tracey's firing. No one had ever spoken into me in my entire life.
Wow.
Okay. So that season, because of this, and a lot of it had to do with what you spoke into me about. God has a calling on my life, and I need you to become. God has given you permission to become obsessed, to lean into that calling.
Yeah,
because somebody's on the other end of that calling.
Yeah,
and Tracey's firing into me, and my. Have you ever had adrenaline where your skull's pounding, where you can feel the heartbeat in your skull? And so that season in Pathfinders is when I launched this podcast, and it had a lot to do with you firing into me, and then the confidence that I gained with the people around me. Wow. That is why I launched Real Deal Talk.
Wow,
that was the reason.
That's awesome.
That this podcast came to life.
That's awesome.
And now, since then, a year and a half roughly since it launched, the amount of lives that this has impacted, Tracey, and the amount of lives that indirectly you've impacted because of this podcast, and now it's coming full circle to where you're actually on the show.
I love it.
And we're leveraging your voice and and everything that you poured out and poured into me and poured into countless people. So talk to me. Let's land this plane on obsession.
Obsession. Well,
okay, give me. Let's land this. I want people to get riled up now as we finish this. How important is it? Like, why are we all here? Like, what? Give me what you kind of spoke into me that night. But just give it to me.
Obsession is what I call a taboo subject. People don't know what to do with it. They don't know whether they should have it. Is it okay to have it? When you become a Christian, a lot of Christians will replace the word obsession with passion. And passion is a sub-level of an obsessed person. A person who's passionate. We talked about a little bit earlier. Passion can be used, I'm passionate about spaghetti, right? Yeah. I want it to be al dente, right? You're passionate about things. But when you're obsessed, you literally surround it. The word obsession comes from a Latin word obsessio. Obsessio means to build a barricade around something, to hem it in, to keep everything that would hold it or destroy it out. Yeah. So when you become someone obsessed, your mind is focused on it. Your emotions are headed to it. Everything you do is driven for it. You are absolutely overwhelmed with it. A lot of people don't give themselves to being overwhelmed with an ambition. They give themselves with being overwhelmed with a problem.
Yes.
We give ourselves to being overwhelmed with an ambition. I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop working towards it. I can't stop doing it. And so I study obsessed people. In my book, Experimentalist, I study obsessed people who are obsessed with an idea. You think about, one of my favorite is P.T. Barnum. P.T. Barnum was an absolutely obsessed person with creating and finding the oddities of life, finding that which was, and he had two things that he was obsessed about, things that were really small or things that were really large. And nothing in the middle. An obsessed person doesn't get satisfied with common. An obsessed person wants only the uncommon, the outliers of life. They want that higher level. You think about Thomas Edison, obsessed with not just the light bulb or light, because there was the light bulbs, but they weren't safe enough to bring into the house. And so he's obsessed with making a light bulb that you can bring into the house and it's safe where the house doesn't catch on fire. Right? You think about this Mother Teresa that's obsessed with the poverty, that people need to have permission to be obsessed. And I think what God did for you is he gave you permission to unleash all of the emotions and permission to use all of the energy that is associated to your obsession to move forward on it. And I'm obsessed with obsessed people.
Yeah.
Albert Einstein was obsessed with the universe and found and discovered, one of the greatest discoveries in the world, which is, the thing that everyone takes and creates atom bombs. But he found the theory of relativity, right? But he's obsessed with the universe. He wasn't obsessed with a theory. He was obsessed with the universe and saw something. Taught on that obsession for 17 years without anybody paying attention. Talked about in universities. No one really paid attention. One day an eclipse happens, a kind of eclipse that only can happen to prove his theory. That theory and that eclipse launched him into being a rock star level scientist. Change. Obsession is the only way the world has ever had any invention. Any creation happens because of obsession. I mean, we can go on all day. Obsession is the permission that a person needs. You need to have permission to be obsessed, because people think it's weird. Obsession is the weird guy that's poking his eyes through a window, looking at strange things, right? No, that's not an obsession. Obsession is the fact that we have something to achieve in the earth and we need to do it. Someone says to me, what was Jesus' obsession? Jesus was obsessed with his Father's business, right? So we have this responsibility to manifest the absolute barricade around an idea until we bring it to pass.
And so for people listening, watching, or people that you coach, where do you start if I want to become obsessed with something? Can you teach it? Can you have somebody find it?
I think it's a discovery. And I think sometimes we've been obsessed with things and we've told ourselves it's not right. It's not right. It's not obsessed. It's not right that I'm obsessed with dancing. It's not right. And they don't feel permission. And I think that allowing that rediscovery of dreams and allowing the rediscovery of things, because if a person doesn't know what they would do if they had a full on permission, then that means they're masking something. And so we need to pull the mask off. We need to help them get to that place of pain or that place of trauma that is hidden, that obsession, and then give them the right systematic understanding. So there's a statement that Jesus says in the Bible that when he was explaining his obsession, one of his things he says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has anointed me too." So if God was to come upon you and anoint you for something, what would it be to do? If you knew God came upon you, God's power, God's fire, God's favor, God's grace, God's goodness, if God were to open up every door you can imagine, what is it that you would put at the end of that sentence? The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has anointed me to do.
Yeah.
What would you do?
Yeah.
And so that's what the obsession, that's how we find it. What would you do? If you knew that, we asked this question in business, if you knew that you couldn't fail, if you knew that you had all the resources in life, then there was no limits, what would you do? That's an obsession question. Most people can't answer it honestly,
right?
Because they're not willing to actually say, this is honestly what I would do. Because most of what they would say is nothing compared to what they're actually doing.
Wow.
It's so far away from it. But if you knew you couldn't fail, and you had no resource limitations, you had no limitations of the people that could get behind you, what would you do? You would start Real Deal Talk.
So why do people settle? Why do so many people settle their whole life without ever becoming obsessed?
Permission. It's the fact that we have a tendency to grow up looking for everyone's response to what we're doing. And when we grow up looking for everyone's response to what we're doing, we gauge whether or not it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
A kid dances in front of a group of people to see their response. If their response is like, yay, then they'll keep doing it. If their response is like weird, they'll stop. And so we end up building these trigger points within our soul. And we do that as an adult. We watch little micro movements of a person and we go, oh, they're not accepting this or they're accepting this. And we have that built in that we get back to that trail. Well, what happens if we actually kill all those micro little engagements of trauma and triggers that you don't actually have the ability to be embarrassed? One of the things I teach in the fact that we're going to be overcoming of, the things that hold us back is shame. A lot of people will never move forward because they're too ashamed of what would happen. That shame barrier is the limitation. You have to be able to break through the shame. You have to be able to, in order to be an obsessed person, you cannot be embarrassed. You cannot be ashamed of it. You have to learn from it, but you can't be ashamed. You can't allow shame. And shame has a process. Shame has a feeling, you feel it in your body before you know it in your mind. You feel it in your cheeks get red. You'll feel your gut cut, clench up. You'll feel your cortisone levels kick up and the energy come to you you feel these contractions in your body. Well, a person doesn't know that they're actually experiencing shame and they're physically feeling it before their mind ever hits it. And then they just make excuses to why they're feeling it. This is uncomfortable, so I'm not going to do it. Now they give them permission they don't give themselves permission to be uncomfortable. You have to actually give yourself permission to be uncomfortable, to be an obsessed person, because there's nothing you do that's comfortable.
Nothing.
Everything you do is uncomfortable. And so you have to start living as an achiever. You live in a place of discomfort. Achievers don't live in comfort.
No. Achievers
live in discomfort. People who don't do great things live in comfort. And so you have to be able to give yourself a place of going, it's not that I'm shameless. I'm not going to run around naked for no reason, right? For no reason. but I'm not going to be shamed. I'm not going to have shame. There's the word shame. The word shame is an expression that tells me that I'm not going to take action, right? I'm not going to have the action necessary to move forward.
It's so simple, life.
Yeah.
If you have the guts.
Yeah.
And like you said, and you just tune out what people are actually thinking about you.
Yeah.
And you move forward and you never quit. You will become successful.
Yeah.
It's a given.
Yeah.
It's 100%.
Yeah.
But most people are so affected by what everybody's thinking about them, the shame.
Yeah.
That they never do it.
Yeah, and it's built in our society to shame and mock people. Right now, I think is one of the things that I feel is extremely dangerous in our social media world is the amount of mockery that happens, because mockery is a shame builder. And so when we are actually creating a world where people have to pretend to be something instead of really be it, they actually are not as famous as they say they are. They're not as, and so they project, and projection is enough. I can actually project enough to where I'm actually satisfied by telling you a story that I know I'll never achieve.
Yes.
Well, that story over and over, if I'm not giving the action, but if I keep giving you the picture like I am, that's enough satisfaction. And so we are in this position where people are trying to avoid being mocked just by simply having post about something.
Yeah.
Oh, look at my vacation. Look at this car that I rented, right? We don't actually, they have this projection. And so we're in a society where mockery and memes are killing ambition.
Wow.
Because we're just simply able to pretend.
Dude, it's so true. So true. All right. So real quick, tell us right now what you want to get out there. You've got your media station, right?
Yeah.
Your coaching.
Yeah.
Give me some things, kind of like your, what you do and so people know about you.
Okay. Well, the media space is going to be it's a space that I'm new to.
Yep.
It's in the sense that I am not new to it. I've been on TV. I've been doing TV for many years as someone behind the scene, someone that's in front of the camera.
Yeah.
That's always been my space. I'm the world of like lights, camera, action, makeup, big lights, big cameras, that kind of stuff. That was my space. The new world of iPhone, ring lights, that's a new world for me.
Right.
But the concepts of media are the same. And so I've been in media for years, but I've just never been in social media. Social media is a different kind of world. It's a different space, but I love television.
Yeah.
I still love television. Some people say television is a dying space. If you look at the statistics, there's only been 5% of television that has actually been crippled by anything Netflix or otherwise, because people think that Netflix, Prime are exhilarate. Right. They're going to have that as well as a television. They're going to watch the news. They're going to watch these things. They may use it. So, but TV hasn't been killed. And most of the, like, if you look at the things that are on demand, they're actually owned by the major industry. Right. So, except for Netflix and Amazon. But outside of that, Hulu, you go to others. So when you think about this, when I'm looking at media, the reason I bought a TV station in LA, a small one. It's not, but it's an introduction for me to get into television. It has 6 channels. It's in the LA media space. And I bought that because, first of all, during 2020, the Lord said, I was frustrated with the herd mentality of the news. The news was leading the herds, and the herds were, and I was just frustrated. I was kind of just I was on a rant online on Facebook Live, and I was ranting, and I felt the Holy Spirit say, buy a TV station. I was like, okay, I don't know how to buy a TV station. I don't even know anything about TV. Not in that aspect, not the business of television. So I found a TV station, bought a TV station. It gave me credibility to what I was already working on, which was a on-demand independent filmmakers TV streaming channel. I found that independent filmmakers are independent because they're independent. And it's very hard to create a space for independent filmmakers without, there's a certain platform. So I'm combining the independent space with the media, with the television space, the traditional space, and we're gonna build a disruption. We're gonna disrupt this space. It's gonna be actually really fun. Part of the project, the launch project, is I'm developing a kingdom-based masterclass. Not preachers, but just people who are the best of the best in the world of what they are.
Wow.
And that's our next level. So if I were to show you, and I'll show you after this, I'll show you what we're working on. But we have movies. We have 4 aspects. We have mastery, which is going to be all marketplace television.
Yep.
We're going to have, I'm saying what we have. That's the new what we're going to have. But what we do have is we actually have, television that's like a CBS kind of full content television channel. We have a news, which we're going to make a transition now. We have a news 24/7 channel that's actually on an air channel in LA. We have a shopping network, and we have a retro TV, black and white. And those are the 4. And then we're launching a faith channel. We don't have a faith channel at this point, but we're launching a faith channel.
Nice.
And so we'll have 6 channels that are actually fun, that are actually flowing, that are out, right. And we have some of them happening right now that are 24/7. But it's the channel that's running. They're not actually fully streaming, but they are fully functioning on air. And we're building a new brand. We're building a brand with a new space. But the ultimate on the streaming aspect is going to have, doesn't have the mastery yet.
Yeah.
But it has the ministry, it has movies, and it has music. So those 3 kinds of channels are in place and functioning.
Already.
And we're just gonna build. So I have a new launch that's coming soon, and I'm excited about it. We'll just relaunch it all. In the midst of that, I'm looking for part of television is having talent, having content. And so, I create challenges and different things to have talent, to find content. So I have a challenge that's coming up for the people that in the mastery, which is great. It's King Solomon's Wealth Secret Challenge, which is going to help people discover how to create wealth on a new level. And I'll find some talent within that, and we'll make some master classes. And so it's just a system, an ecosystem that I'm working on, and it's at this level. But next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we'll be exploding in it.
Wow. And so, but these channels right now only visible in the LA area.
In the LA area, and then on the app, and it's app, Roku, Apple TV. It will be in the next 30.
Does it have a name that you can give out? Or?
Destiny TV.
Destiny TV.
Some of what you're going to see is not our rebrand, but you can go and watch Destiny TV right now.
Destiny TV.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Anything else?
There's a lot of else. And where do you want to go with it? There's a lot of else. I mean, the thing is that when you're obsessed, you just have to. I have a thing that I'm working on. I have something that I'm building. I felt like the Lord said there's 4 aspects that I need to put my obsession in. I need to put my obsession in real estate, put my obsession in a crypto space, and I have to put my obsession in transportation and communication. So I'm working on transportation and communication.
Yep.
And then I'll bring the other 2 in later.
Love it. Dude, we could go all day.
Yep.
All day. But we got to land the plane now.
Well,
I'm very, very sad.
I like landing planes, by the way.
I know you do. So let's land the plane. Let's leave the listeners and the viewers with a not motivation, but something inspiring to make a switch, to flip the switch from going from whatever they're doing, not feeling fulfilled, maybe not loving their job, maybe not just knowing that there's something inside of them.
Yeah.
But they just don't know how to bring it out, or where do I start? What's the first thing that they do to inspire them to make a change, flip the switch, become obsessed? Where do they start?
Well, I'm going to give you two things.
Give it to me.
In fact, one is going to be a revelation, a realization, and the second is going to be an action.
Okay.
So the first is stop lying to yourself. Tell yourself the truth. Tell yourself the truth. Be honest with yourself. Most people are not honest with themselves. They are so busy telling a story and a reason or an excuse that they actually convince themselves of it. The only person that matters that you convince yourself with is you. You've got to be honest. Business people lie to themselves. People in business lie to themselves. That we have forecasted our projections and our forecasts and our business models and our business plans so much that we actually end up doing that lying within us. So be honest with yourself. Second of all, give yourself a 5-minute creative writing. Sit down with a piece of paper and a pencil and turn on some music, something that inspires you, Phil Collins, worship, whatever it may be. Make sure you feel like you're in that zone. If you're a Christian, pray, worship, but get in that zone, get in that space. Take out the piece of paper, take out the pencil, pen, pencil's fine. And you're going to start a timer and you're going to write for 5 minutes. Just write. Don't think about punctuation. Don't think about anything. Just let the biggest, most wildest, most craziest imagination hit you and dream about your tomorrow. Dream. Just write out for 5 minutes. Just go. Don't hold back. Don't lift your pen or paper. Don't lift your pencil off of the paper. Keep it going. Don't think. Let it flow. Just let it flow. Right.
Like dreams and aspirations.
Yeah. Just this is where my future is. Just write. And don't give yourself all these extra parameters, because if you give yourself all the extra parameters, you're now limiting. You're just going big dream, big things, big. And then just see. And then after when the alarm goes off, 5 minutes, the alarm goes off, go back and read it. When you read it, I want you to highlight 3 things that you have never seen before, or 3 things that you need to take action on, and just put 1, 2, 3 and around those areas, and then take those things, separate those things at the bottom of part of the paper or the next page. And then this week, for those 3 things that you saw, you're going to do an action every week for the next 6 weeks. You're going to take action on them every week. You're not going to rewrite creatively, but you're going to take those 3 things. And this week, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for number 2. I'm going to do this for number 3. Now we're giving action, because action is the only way to get results.
Right.
Then the next week, you've accomplished those. The next week, you're going to do the same thing. Then within 6 weeks, you will have busted through and broken into something completely new, and you will be unstoppable.
And you'll become obsessed?
You'll become obsessed. You're obsessed. You'll actually give permission to your obsession when you start doing creative writing.
And how important is it to do this, like with your spouse?
Well, first you have your spouse do it and you do it
separately,
and then sit down and then look at what each other's doing, and look at each other's plan and see what fits. You mark your individual 3 together. I mean, then if you want to, before you do it together, do it individually.
Yes, right.
Do it individually. Right. And then you can come and then you can mold them together. But I want you to take action individually on them, so that you both have identity in your relationship and you don't actually mask one another.
And so is this, for right now, couples that are listening, or one person that's listening, realizing their relationship is stagnant at this point?
Yeah. Well, is
this a good place to start for that as well?
Yeah, good place to start. Internal vision. And I'd say if you're a couple and you have a stagnant thing, it means the perishing of the relationship is because the vision is perished, right? You don't have a vision. So I would say, even, yes, you could do the corporate, you do the creative writing, but go to the 5-year thing.
5-year thing. Okay.
Yeah. 5 years from now, how are we waking up? 5 years from now, where are we going to work? 5 years from now, how am I participating? How you're participating? What are we doing 5 years from now? Let's, as line upon line, as minute by minute as you can break down a 5-year plan. That's what's going to get your fire back.
5 years from now, as if it's happening right now. What's happening?
Yeah, what's happening?
Go there.
Minute by minute, coach. Minute by minute, this is what I'm going to do. This is what we're doing. And we're talking as if we're there. We're not talking as if we're going to be there. I wake up this morning. I woke up by my iPhone or my whatever. I woke up by whatever it is. What kind of car we're driving? Who are we talking to on the way out of the house? Are my kids still there? Are they not there? What's going on? And so just really get that dialed in. Get the fire back in. How are we? Am I kissing you or am I high-fiving you? My wife refuses to high five me.
Yeah, no.
She will not high five me. I'm like, babe, that's another level of love. No, you're going to kiss. You're not getting a high five, right? Because part of the thing is if there was any moment that we couldn't kiss each other, that means that we put that rule in. If I can't turn to kiss you, that means there's something between us. And so we need to work out whatever that is. And so it's, just having these things. If you found that you have no rules for your life, not legalistic rules, but if you have no things that kind of give you hey, hazard sign, your brakes are coming, you're falling apart here, then you will never know. You'll get so far down the road that you're unraveled your relationship.
Yeah.
You have no idea because you've been just running over and run through barriers and running through hazard signs the whole time. Well, you need to put some things in order till okay, this is how we know we needed an adjustment. I pray for my wife every night.
Every night.
Even though I'm here, she's traveling. I'm traveling. She's at home. Every night she grabs my kids. We pull on the FaceTime. I'm in my hotel, and I'm praying, and I rehearse everything that I know about my kids' futures over them, and I rehearse everything I know about my wife's future, and I pray, and cause my thought is,
you rehearse? What does that mean?
Well, if things that I know, I know my son's called to be a billionaire. He's called to be in business. So you'll
pray this out loud to them?
I repray it. I prophesy over him, and I say it to him.
You say this in the prayer to him?
I say this in the prayer to him every single night, reminding, so that if anything comes against him, he's reminded that this is who I am.
Give me a couple of words of the prayer for him.
All right. So my son's called to be. So thank you, Father, for Joseph, that he is called to be a wealth creator, that he's a billionaire, right? I'll say those exact words. My son.
In the present tense.
In the present tense. He is. My son, Tristan, he is called this. This is who he is. This is what he does. My daughter, Sophia, she's called to this, and this is what she does. Thank you for my wife. She's called to this. This is who she is. This is, who she is. Who she is. Who she is, right?
Who she is. Not who she's going to be.
No, who she is.
Oh, man, I love this. Love it. All right, so.
Because if I can't do that, that means something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something's off. If she won't receive it, something's off. If I can't give it, something's off.
Okay, one last thing. Leave the viewers and listeners with one thing.
I gave you.
I know, bro. I can't stop. I don't want to stop here. I want to keep going.
Well, I think for business leaders, for business people, you and I are in business. I think right now, it's the season of big moves.
Okay, give it to me.
You gotta. He said, "Give it to me." You gotta make big moves. I think that this is the time to create wealth, and our next level leaders are our wealth creators.
Yeah,
and so we need to be in that space where we're making things happen. The reason I'm in media is because I want to control the narrative. I don't want to be subject to the narrative. I've had my social media shut down in different aspects. They've shut me down, censored me. And I'm like, why should I keep giving them the space when I'm going to create my own? So create your own destiny. Create your space.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tracey Armstrong. Dude, this has been fantastic.
I love being with you, man. This is fun.
I want to keep going so bad, but I've got customers calling me. I don't care because this is more important right here. This stuff great. Right here, bro.
Thank you for having me, man.
Dude, thanks for coming, sharing your time all the way from Seattle. Flew in specifically for the podcast.
Let's do this.
That's kind of true. Right?
We made it happen.
Just like when you told me that your wife, you didn't think anything else. You just didn't want to talk to her.
There's a realm of truth to it.
There's a realm of truth. There's a realm of truth to this. So, ladies and gentlemen, tune in. Tracey Armstrong, bro. Love you, man. Can't tell you enough.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming in. Real Deal Talk, ladies and gentlemen. That's a wrap. Let's go.